Greetings, everybody, and welcome once again to Lawrence-Dumont Stadium in Wichita, Kansas. It's time for Hutchinson Community College Baseball on the Blue Dragon Sports Network. This afternoon, Day 3 of the Region 6 tournament, and it's elimination time for the Blue Dragons as number 3 Hutchinson at 46-12 takes on the Fort Scott Greyhounds out of the Jayhawk East with a record of 38-23. Steve Carpenter with you. Be joined momentarily by Denny Steckline. The Blue Dragons last night, a 14-8 loser to Johnson County in an offensive slugfest that was in the first 3 innings all Hutchinson, but after that from the 5th inning on all Johnson County. Fort Scott dropped their first game, but rebounded to beat Barton 5-2 yesterday, so that makes this a matchup of elimination losers bracket people. The winner of this game gets Neosho County later tonight. And Denny Steckline, we mentioned as we broke the broadcast last night, it's going to take a 5-game winning streak to get to Grand Junction, but you can't get number 5 without getting number 1 first.
That's exactly right, Carp. It's really a series of 5 one-game winning streaks. They've just got to take one at a time. Similar situation to what they were in last year. It's an uphill climb, but somebody from this loser's bracket's going to do it. So why not have it be the Blue Dragons?
There is history in this tournament. County lost their first game in 2006 and came back all the way through to win it. So there is precedence here of the losers bracket teams coming back through to win. It's a lot tougher. You're going to need a lot of pitching. You're going to have to make some keen decisions on how far you leave a starter, or how long you leave a starter out there when you make a pitching change, because that pitching staff is going to be taxed. First up for the Blue Dragons on the mound is Wyatt Divis, the freshman from Lincoln, Nebraska, brings a 5-2 record with a 3.78 earned run average into it. He'll be opposed by freshman right-hander Nathan Miller, who's 4-4 with a 4.53 earned run average. So the winner of this game will get Neosho County at 7 p.m. tonight. So we hope it's a doubleheader for the Blue Dragons, and if so, we'll be with you about 7 o'clock. We're running roughly 30 minutes behind schedule right now, but we can get back on just as easy if this is a very fast-paced game. With the rush of day number 3, early morning, and Coach Ryan Schmidt running around making sure the team's taken care of, we weren't able to chat with him before the game. So when we return, we will set the stage, Denny and myself, for this elimination showdown between the Blue Dragons and the Greyhounds here on the Blue Dragon Sports Network. Welcome back to Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Steve Carpenter, Denny Steckline with you. Again, we won't have our pregame chat. Earlier today, Neosho County eliminated Kansas City in a game with 4 lead changes. So the winner of this game gets Neosho County at 7. The winner's bracket final will be Johnson County and Cowley, the top 2 teams out of the Jayhawk East. Looking back to last night, Denny, a good start. But it was, like you said several times last night, it was uneasy. You felt like the Dragons had to keep pouring it on. Did you feel like maybe this is a young team? You feel like maybe that freshman mentality kind of reared its ugly head at a very inopportune time last night?
Yeah, I think you're right, exactly right with that, Carp. And we talked about that a little bit. You know, when it was 3-1, we sat up here and talked and said 3 runs is not going to be near enough. even when it was 6-1, we both had that uneasy feeling that this is just way too early and things can play out. And we referenced it several times that last year against Johnson County, the Blue Dragons were down 5 in the first inning. And then we knew it wasn't over. The Blue Dragons came back and tied it. Johnson County being down 5, it's an experienced team. It's a Hall of Fame coach. He was not going to let them, Kent Shelley was not going to let them mail this one in. And that fifth inning was just one of those that I think the Blue Dragons had a hard time rebounding from. They put a few more runs on the board, a couple more runs on the board after that. But allowing 7 runs in the top of the fifth after 2 outs were on the board, and just some mental errors on a couple of fielding plays. They weren't errors in the scorebook, but they were mental errors that were costly, and that was too much for them to rebound from. And as we look at today, we're in a similar situation to a year ago where the Blue Dragons used up some pitchers, and then we're in an elimination situation, which they're at right now. And they're going to need to channel somebody, and Wyatt Divis is the one who's been anointed, but he's going to have to channel his inner Lucas Milner from last year. Lucas was a pitcher for the Blue Dragons, and wasn't one who threw a lot throughout the year, but Schmitty put him on the bump last year, and I forget how deep he went, but he went pretty deep in the game and got him back on track. And that's what they're going to need today from Wyatt. Wyatt's going to have to throw several innings and give some of these guys a break because, as you mentioned, this is just the first of 5 one-game winning streaks that the Blue Dragons are going to have to embark on here in just a few minutes.
Let's get to the starting lineups. Fort Scott will be the home team in this one, so the Dragons will bat first. And it'll be the similar lineup that Ryan Schmidt has rolled out there quite a bit through the last third of the season. Sophomore Shane Cooper will lead it off and play shortstop. Michael Hellman, the nation's leading hitter, bats at second and plays second base. Bobby Morganson is in left field batting third. Nolan Hackle is the cleanup hitter and in center field. Brady Hoover bats fifth at first base. Third baseman Caden Doge will bat sixth. Wyatt Divis is the pitcher and designated hitter. He'll bat seventh. Scott Wolverton gets his third straight start here in Wichita behind the plate. He bats eighth. And Brock Schaefer is in right field batting ninth. So the Dragons line up with Cooper, Hellman, Morganson, Hackle, Hoover, Doge, Divis, Wolverton, and Schaefer. Fort Scott taking the field. Here's their lineup. Mitch Sloan will lead it off and play center field. Will Baker bats second and plays second base. The shortstop is Danny Cruz. He bats third. Brandon Krenrich is the catcher batting in the cleanup spot. Left fielder Andrew Morrow bats fifth. Batting sixth is the first baseman, Quinn Waterbury. Sean Moore will get the start at third base. He bats seventh. Andrew McKenzie is the designated hitter, batting eighth. And McKay Williams bats ninth and plays right field. Nathan Miller gets the start. He's a freshman with right-hander with a 4-4 record. So John Hill's lineup is Sloan, Baker, Cruz, Krenrich, Morrow, Waterbury, Moore, McKenzie, Williams, and Nathan Miller on the mound. 82 degrees at first pitch, about 30 minutes behind scheduled time. Another gorgeous day, not a cloud in the sky. So it's been a gorgeous weekend down here. And we hope that the fortunes of the afternoon turn around for the Blue Dragons because they haven't played very many games at night, and last night was kind of ugly. The numbers on Nathan Miller, making his 7th start, 19th appearance overall, 4-4 record, a 4.5 or 6.3 earned run average. Miller has worked 44 2/3 innings. He's allowed 55 hits, 28 runs, 23 of those earned. He has struck out 37 and walked 18. So Shane Cooper will lead it off. Coop had a 2-hit night last night. Excuse me, a 1-hit night last night. His hitting streak now at 5 games. Cooper stepping in, hitting .389 here in Wichita for the postseason. For the season, Cooper hitting .347 with 78 hits in the first pitch of the game. First pitch swing is driven to right field and well hit, though. McGay Williams at the track and will track it down for out number 1.
That's a loud out and a well hit out to get things started for the Blue Dragons. There's 1 out on the scoreboard, but focus on how well he hit that, and he hit it to the warning track and right. And, Michael Hellman took note of that as he was standing on deck.
So here's Michael Hellman. The nation's leading hitter at .500, average 109 for .218. He takes the first pitch high for ball 1.
Michael sitting on 198 career hits, just 2 shy of 200, and no player in the history of the Jayhawk Conference has ever reached that number.
He swings and hits one high to left field. It's carrying into the gap in left center field. And right at the wall, the center fielder, Mitch Sloan, makes the catch for the second out.
He didn't square that one up very well, Carp. That sounded like it was in on the handle maybe just a little bit.
Our umpires today, at third base, Doug Thrasher. At first base, Nate Garrison. And behind the plate, Tim Carpenter, no relation. 2 away for Bobby Morganson, the freshman out of Omaha, hitting .374 with 10 home runs and 86 RBIs, and it's ball 1.
Carp, we talked about this ballpark yesterday, and it's certainly to the power alleys and to center, it's deeper than what we're used to at Hobart-Detter Field, and you almost wonder if the balls that Cooper and Hellman's, I think there was no question that was a home run at Hobart-Detter. Cooper's would have been pretty close as well.
It had been close the opposite way. Now 1-1 to Morganson, the pitch. High and outside for a ball, 2-1. In the postseason, that's 4 games. Bobby Morganson 5 for 16 with a home run and 7 RBIs. Here in Wichita, Bobby's 2 for 8, a couple of singles, has driven in 2 and scored 2. Pitch is low. They check down. Morganson checks his swing, and he's ahead in the count, 3-1. This Fort Scott team dealt the Blue Dragons a bit of postseason bad memories a few years ago. There's a strike at the letters, and it's now a full count. Fort Scott came into Hobart-Detter Field in 2015 and stunned the Dragons in a 2-game sweep in the opening round series at Hobart-Detter Field. The 3-2 pitch, it bounces in. It'll be ball 4. A 2-out walk to Morganson. That'll bring up Nolan Hackle. And the thing I still remember about that series is the way it ended. Or it didn't end that way, but the Dragons fought way back, kind of like the Indy Game 3 last year. Tate Castens was coming around third as the go-ahead run and hit the bag at third and injured his leg and fell down about 15 feet short of the plate, and he was tagged out. It's still just one of the spookiest memories I can ever remember. Nolan Hackle takes strike 1. Hacks had a good series here in Wichita. Pitch downstairs. Snap throw to first. Morganson way off the bag, and they've got him picked off. So catcher Brendan Krenrich picks off Bobby Morganson to end the first. After a half inning, Dragons nothing, and the Greyhounds coming up. Wyatt Divis, a freshman out of Lincoln, taking his final warm-up tosses. In fact, the throw goes down. Divis making his 10th start of the year, 12th appearance, 5-2 record for Wyatt Divis, 3.78 ERA. 1 complete game, 1 save, 47 2/3 innings pitched for Divis. He's allowed 49 hits, 24 runs, 20 earned. Opponent's hitting .259 against, and he has struck out 39 and walked 12. He will face Mitch Sloan to lead off the bottom of the first inning. Top of the first inning a bit inauspiciously as Bobby Morganson got picked off at first base by catcher Krenrich. Hard hit ball and sent to left field for a base hit. That's not a good sign. Ball left up, and Sloan drills it through the 5-6 hole, and that'll bring up the second baseman, Will Baker. Will Baker coming into the game hitting .344, 2 home runs, 46 RBIs. Here in Wichita in 2 games, 1 for 8. Hard hit ball, Cooper, backhanded stop. They go to Hellman for at 1 on the first. They got the double play.
Boy, Michael had a hard time getting it out of his glove there, and they're still able to turn it. So 2 pitches, 2 hard hit balls between short and third. The second one erases the base hit from the first one.
4th double play here in Wichita, turned by Hutchinson. Now the 3-hole hitter, Danny Cruz, steps in. Cruz, a .371 hitter. Team high 12 home runs, team high 67 RBIs for Cruz. 2 for 9 with a double and 2 RBIs here in Wichita, and he takes outside from Davis, ball 1.
Missed his chance there to tie the world record for fewest pitches in an inning.
There's a strike, and it's 1-1. Davis over the last half has been a very strong pitcher. He worked himself into the weekend rotation. Changeup swung through and missed, and it's 1-2. He threw game number 2 last week against Labette, the 8-7 win. Struggled a little bit through 5 2/3. The pitch missed outside. Got a no decision in that game. Allowed 8 hits, 4 earned runs, but he struck out a season high 7 and walked only 1. 2-2. Sprayed foul off to the left.
One of my fondest memories of Wyatt's pitching performances this weekend was that series out in Garden City that I went out and followed the team to. And we had the wind blowing out as that one's fouled back and out of play. On day 1, where both teams combined for 55 runs, Wyatt takes the mound in game 3 on Sunday and allows 1 unearned run.
Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And that double play turned the inning. No runs, a hit, nobody left. We've completed 1 here in Wichita. There's no score. No score through 1. Steve Carpenter, Danny Steckline with you on the Blue Dragon Sports Network. And Danny, once again, I do want to throw a little bit, or a big amount of appreciation to you and the rest of the crew for picking up for me when I had to be up in Nebraska for the death of my father. You guys did a fabulous job, and I really appreciate all the work you guys did.
Well, Carp, it was our pleasure, and that's the beautiful thing about Blue Dragon Athletics and Hutchinson Community College is when someone in the Blue Dragon family has a difficult thing or a challenging event they have to deal with, that's where we all step in and take care of each other. So,
Nolan Hackle reaches on an error by second baseman Will Baker.
See if the Blue Dragons can take advantage of that. Brady Hoover coming up, and I saw Brady before the game. Took a long trot out to center field to the 400-foot sign and did some reflection and thinking out there that, you know, as a redshirt sophomore, he doesn't want this to be his last game as a Blue Dragon.
He has enjoyed himself immensely as a Blue Dragon baseball player, and one of the great kids on campus, no doubt about it. Hoover stepping in, hitting .318 for the year, 12 home runs, 46 RBIs. Okay. Tell him I'll give him a thumbs up or a thumb down. Okay. In Wichita, Hoove is 2 for 9 with 3 RBIs. He takes that breaking pitch a little bit outside, and it's 2-0.
You know, being the redshirt sophomore and what his teammates call uncle, you know, Brady has really been that guy for the young ones to look up to, and has had such a positive influence on this team as he rips one down the left field line into the corner.
That's a fair ball. On his way to third is Hellman. Schmidt's going to wave, and there's going to be a play at the plate. Here comes the throw, and he's safe. The catcher can't hold the ball, and the Dragons take a 1-0 lead. It was a good throw from the shortstop, Danny Cruz, and Brendan Krenrich couldn't handle the throw. It's an RBI double for Uncle, and the Dragons break on top 1-0.
Coach Schmidt was redeemed there because if Krenrich handles that, Hackle was going to be rung up at the plate, but Dragons take advantage and get the 1-0 lead.
So now Caden Doge will be the batter. Caden in Wichita, or in the postseason, 3 for 14. In Wichita, he's 2 for 7. Takes a ball high. And now time called for a moment. Danny, I'm going to run over on the other side and get that scoreboard changed. I'm also the official scorer, so I've got to help out real quick. I'll return, but Danny's got the caller for just a second.
Short break in the action as Krenrich goes out to chat with Nathan Miller, get him settled down. Caden Doge, 1-0 count. Caden's next stop will be Tulane University in New Orleans, back in his home state of Louisiana. Hoover gets his lead off of second. Miller takes a peek at him. There's a sharp single hit to left. That's going to send Hoover to third, where Coach Schmidt has already got the stop sign up. Uncle's not the most fleet-footed of Blue Dragons, but Dragons now have runners at the corners with no one out, and that's going to bring up the pitcher, Wyatt Divis.
Divis so far here in Wichita is 2 for 9. He was 0 for 4 on Friday, but came back with a couple of hits, including a double. One of the hottest Dragon hitters. .392 average for the year, 9 home runs, 57 RBIs. In 4 postseason games, 8 for 17. 3 doubles, 5 driven in. There's a looper in center field. That's down for a hit. Hoover scores to make it 2-0. Doge stops at second. And the Dragons showing some early rebound from last night, which is awfully good to see.
It is, and you know, Carp, they're jumping on Miller early in the count too. They're not looking at a lot of pitches because, you know, maybe they've scouted something here that he likes to come in with certain pitches early in the count, and that's exactly what they're taking advantage of.
And you think about the way this year has gone. When the Dragons are swinging early in the count, that seems to be when they're the most. It's frustrating sometimes because they're having a lot of 4- and 5-pitch innings, but they're very aggressive in the count. That seems to be when they do their best. Ball 1 to Scott Wolverton. Wolverton hitting for the year .313 with 35 hits, 5 home runs, 25 RBIs. Wolverton 4 for 13 in the postseason, and here in Wichita, still looking for his first hit. He's 0 for 6. That pitch a little bit low, and it's 2-0 to Scotty. 2-0 Dragons.
And some activity already heading down to the Fort Scott bullpen. So when you're in sudden death, which both of these teams are, the leash is going to be very, very short.
Miller Miller comes set and delivers. Line drive to left center field. That's a hit. Rounding third is Doge. That ball will get all the way to the warning track. Now bobbled. Here comes Divis around third. He's going to score. It's a 2-run double for Wolverton, and it's 4-0 Hutchinson.
And still nobody out here in the top of the second inning for the Blue Dragons.
It'll be a straight double and 2 RBIs for Wolverton. The ball was bobbled out in center field, but Wyatt Divis never stopped. Now pitching coach Andrew James is going to go out and talk to Miller as we get Keller Agri up. He threw in the tournament here last year. Sophomore out of Overland Park will start to loosen. John Miller, John Hill has used only 3 people out of the bullpen. His starters went deep in both. Justin O'Laughlin went 7 on Friday, and Kyle Smith went 8 yesterday in the win over Barton. Nathan Miller, this is actually his second appearance in the series. He threw an inning and gave up a hit on Friday night in the loss to Neosho County, or to Cali, excuse me. Now home plate umpire Tim Carpenter goes out and breaks the meeting up. So it's 4-0 Hutch, 4 runs on 4 hits, all 4 hits coming in this inning. This all started with a Nolan Hackle reaching on the air by Will Baker. The second baseman bobbled it. Then Hoover doubled him in. Caden Doge with a single, Wyatt Divis with an RBI single, and Scott Wolverton with a 2-run double. And that'll bring up Brock Schaefer, hitting 9th in the order. Schaefer hitting .250 with 17 hits, 1 home run, 7 driven in.
Let's see if Schaefer, he has not had as many at-bats. Well, he doesn't have a chance to look at that one. It was too high, but whether he was going to try to jump on something early in the count as well.
Schaefer in the postseason, 2 for 12, a double. Here in Wichita, 1 for 5, and this is where that double happened, and went the other way to left center field. The pitch. Over but low, 2-0.
Just another picture-perfect Chamber of Commerce day here at the ballpark in Wichita. Wind blowing out to left.
The wind in the pitch. Ground ball up the middle. The shortstop dives and makes the stab to throw to first in time. Good play by shortstop Danny Cruz to get Schaefer at first, but it's a productive out as Wolverton moves up to third.
Gets a runner to third with 1 out and to the top of the order. So now we're back to Cooper, Hellman, and Morganson. And, that's been the least productive part one time through, so let's give them a chance to redeem themselves.
Coop hit the ball well to right field his first time up. That was tracked down by McKay Williams. He's taking on this at bat, and it's a strike on the outside corner. Shane Cooper now in his career, 116. This is the 117th game. He has 174 hits, a career 374 batting average. If he drives in one more run, it'll be 100 career RBIs. It's a ground ball, 1 hopper to short. Cruz has it, and the throw is made. The inning is over, but the Dragons.
No, they play with 3 outs.
Oh,
now,
that's
Carp.
right. My bad. And the run scores. There it is. I got ahead of myself. Thank you, Denny. Trying to play Iowa rules. So Michael Hellman hits with the bases empty 2-way. 5-0 Hutchinson now. My apologies. And Hellman takes a low ball 1. So that is career RBI number 100 for Shane Cooper, who is number 2 in conference history in total career hits, behind the guy at the plate, Michael Hellman. High and tight, 2-0. Just looking at the numbers, the middle infielders for the Dragons has produced offensively, just mind-boggling. And the stuff I've been able to dig up, really, we could spend an hour, we could do a podcast just on what Shane Cooper and Michael Hellman have done. Now it's 3-0.
Yeah, you look at it just from the standpoint of Blue Dragon baseball, but then the research that you've been given and that you've done, these guys are the most lethal middle infield combination offensively in the conference's history when you look at the number of base hits they've had. And that says quite a bit.
Here's the 3-1 Hellman, hard hit ball, pulled foul. These are just conference numbers. Mind you, we know Michael's broken a lot of career and single season records for Blue Dragon baseball, but right now Michael Hellman is one of 4 players, just one of 4 in the long history of the conference to have 100 hits in the season. Ground ball up the middle. Cruz gets to it behind the bag, makes a strong throw, and he's safe. That's an infield single. And that for him is career hit number, let me find him here, 199. That just ups the conference record a little bit more.
You know, and that shows what a great hitter Michael is, because it was a full count, so he had 2 strikes on him. And he just threw the bat out there and put the ball in play and hit it just hard enough to get it past the pitcher and not hard enough for the shortstop to have a chance to make too quick of a play on it.
Great hustle down. Here's Morganson. He takes outside ball 1. Bobby walked his first time up, then was picked off of first. More numbers on Michael. So he's number 2 in single season history now with 110 hits. Just one of 4 players to have 100 hits in the season. The record is 121. That ball's well hit to center field, but playable for Sloan. Now making a few steps to his right. He's got it. And we'll continue our in-depth look into Michael Hellman and Shane Cooper's stats when we return. But the Dragons have a big turn. 5 runs on 5 hits, 1 error, and 1 left on base. After an inning and a half, it's Hutchinson 5 and Fort Scott nothing. Dragons score 5 in the top of the second. Now Fort Scott looks to retaliate. It's a good offensive team for John Hill. They come in with a team batting average of .341, have hit 67 home runs, so they've got pop up and down the order. That's a long way from being over, and Wyatt Divis, after throwing a scoreless first, needs to lock in. He's going to face the cleanup hitter, catcher Brandon Krenrich.
Well, Carp, the Blue Dragons don't even have to look back 24 hours to the last time they had a 5-run lead. And there should be a lesson here that to every single one of them up and down that dugout in the lineup that it's a long ways from being over.
Krenrich, a .398 hitter, 9 home runs, 51 RBIs. Ground ball under the glove of Divis. Hellman will get to it behind the bag, turns, throws, and he got him. Good stick-to-itiveness by Michael Hellman. That ball wasn't really all that well hit.
No, and I wonder if Wyatt, you almost, I don't know if he got any contact with it at all, but that would have slowed it down even more. And then Krenrich took the head-first slide into first, which I've never understood, Carp, because you hear the baseball lifers and the baseball coaches, they always tell you the fastest way to get to the bag is to run through the bag. And by sliding into first base, you're slowing yourself down. And I think if he runs through the bag, he beats it out because it was bang bay with the slide.
Andrew Morrow, the batter, he takes a strike. I go back to your point. Have you ever seen a sprinter in the 100-meter dash in the hurdles, or in the 100-meter dash in the Olympics, ever dive or go head-first dive into the finish line?
Never have.
There you
Never
go.
will. Never will.
There you go. Strike 2 now to Morrow.
But a nice segue into inviting folks out to Gowan Stadium this week, Carp, for the NJCAA National Outdoor Track and Field Championships that Hutchinson Community College will be hosting.
On an 0-2 pitch, Morrow goes the other way for a single. That particular pitch probably drives Ryan Schmidt more crazy than anything, giving up a solid single and an advantage count. It was 0-2, and Morrow served it up to right field for a base hit. Credit him for a nice piece of hitting, but I think Dwight Dibbs maybe caught a little too much of the plate. First baseman Quentin Waterbury steps in.
And that's been an Achilles heel for Blue Dragon pitchers throughout the season, especially in the middle of the year when they really went through a funk before the team launched that 20-game winning streak that ended last night. But giving up base hits and giving up RBIs and runs with 1-2, 0-2 counts that they weren't taking advantage of.
Changeup swung on and missed by Waterbury, and it's 1-1. Quinn Waterbury hitting 303 for the year with 45 hits. Or 50 hits, excuse me. 12 home runs, 52 driven in. He's got some pop in the lower part of the order for John Hill's Fort Scott team. There's a strike on the outside corner, and it's 1-2. This Fort Scott team, they lost a heartbreaker to Cowley on Friday, and everybody thought that Barton would kind of just run over them yesterday morning. Not the case. This John Hill coach team will fight. Swing back to the screen. Had an incident in the game previous. Kansas City pitcher Kyle Cox was struck in the face with a line drive. He's been taken to a hospital. He was coherent when he left the ballpark. But if you as you watch the stream, you see where Wyatt Dibbs is right now. Picture his follow-through, and the ball ended up clearing the first base dugout 3 rows up after the deflection. And pitch just misses 3-2. Dibbs wanted that one. That was a scary moment. I mean, I got close yesterday here in the press box, but that was kind of unnerving, and it's part of baseball. We know it, but we hope all the best for Kyle Cox and his family. Parents were right here and jumped right out on the field. Hard hit ball down the left field line, but it will hook foul.
You know, Carp, when people talk about the distance from home to the pitcher's mound, it's 60 feet 6 inches to the rubber. But when you're talking about a pitcher, and these guys are, on the short side, 5'11", 6 foot, up to 6'6", 6'8", 6'10", by the time they take that stride and finish the follow-through, they've shaved probably 8 to 10 inches. Or
line shot to Cooper, and they won't get the double play, but
8 to 10 feet off of that distance. So you're talking 50 to 55 feet away, and a ball coming back at them hit as hard or harder than what they delivered it.
So after the line out to Cooper, third baseman Sean Moore steps in and run at first, 2 away. Moore so far here in the tournament, 3 for 7 with a double and 2 RBIs. Swings and misses at that Divis fastball. Sean Moore hitting .336 with 5 home runs and 31 RBIs. The pitch. Good changeup swung on and missed. Moore was way out in front, and it is quickly 0-2.
Well, let's see how Wyatt adapts to this 0-2 count compared to the 0-2 count where he gave up the single to right.
The pitch. Popped up. Foul territory toward the Dragon dugout, but it'll be out of play.
An abundance of foul territory here at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium, especially down the left field line.
And there's nothing normal about that outfield wall. There are tricky hops out there all over the place. Not just counting the wells, but all around the fence until you get to the padding in center field. It's tricky out there. The pitch in the dirt. Runner tries to move up. Wolverton's throw is in time. A great pick from Michael Hellman, and he throws out Morrow trying to move up on a wild pitch, and that ends the inning. So the Dragons cut their second down on the bases. Or first, excuse me. No runs a hit and nobody left. We go to the third. Hutchinson 5 and Fort Scott nothing.
We're back at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Steve Carpenter getting situated. Denny Steckline joining you. Nolan Hackle going to be leading off the top of the third for the Blue Dragons. Nolan led off the top of the second as the Dragons sent 9 to the plate, scoring 5 runs.
How did that not hit Nolan? I heard it must have clipped off the glove.
I think it hit the catcher, the umpire, and a couple of other things, but none of them being Nolan Hackle.
And Nolan made no attempt. There's a swing and a fly ball to right field. Williams breaks back, now goes to his right to make the catch for the first out of the third inning. So, one away for Brady Hoover. Hoover had a RBI double. And that for Brady was his 113th career hit, 81st career RBI. We're going to run through some more numbers as who fouls that one back over the press box. We were talking about Michael Hellman's numbers, but there are several Blue Dragons that are, I've got 4 different Blue Dragons ranking in the top 10 of the JAC Conference career and single season records. So Michael's breakdown, number 2 in hits with 110, tied for, or is right now 6th with a 500 career batting average, or season batting average. Changeup swung on and missed, and it's 1-2. He is number 1 in career hits with 199. His career batting average of 458 is 8th in conference history. He is tied for 8th in doubles with 37. He already has the conference record. There's a called strike 3, and there's very quickly 2 away. So Michael Hellman tied for 8th in doubles, and again has currently broken, or has the conference record, career record for runs at 163. Caden Doge, who singled and scored his first time up. Shane Cooper, his 96 hits last year, that's tied for 9th on the single season list. We mentioned that he is number 2 in the conference in history, total hits with 174. Ball 1 to Doge. Miller into the wind, and it's a strike. Doge, for his career, he's tied last year with 31 home runs, tied Corey Patton for the conference single season record. The pitch, swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. He is currently tied for 2nd on the career list with 41, tied with Eric Sturm from Butler in 1987 and 88, and the aforementioned Corey Patton. The record is 43, set by Bobby Reed of Neosho County in 81. Ground ball to third, going down to his knees more to field, but throws high. And throws it down the line. That's out. That's going to be a hit and an error.
Throws it into the Hardball Cafe. Down beyond the first base dugout.
It'll be the 2nd error charged to the Greyhounds. Doge was going to beat the throw. So now Wyatt Dibbets with a 2-out RBI opportunity. Dibbets with an RBI single his last time up. And the other Blue Dragon in the conference career marks is pitcher Nolan Hoffman. That pitch way outside the div. Hoffman, assuming he doesn't pitch again, is number 7 all-time in conference strikeouts with 168. That's some pretty special marks by this sophomore group in a very, very good and long tenured baseball conference. Fly ball down the left field, line by Divis, and it's foul.
A lot of great players have come through this conference, and you know, Hoff and Michael Hellman are both heading south to College Station to pitch for Texas A&M, where another Blue Dragon a couple seasons ago wrapped up a pretty prolific career. Kyle Simons now pitching in the Washington Nationals organization. And like Hoff and Hellman, another Cornhusker from north of us.
Another pitch by Divis fouled up, giving chases the third baseman more, but it lands in the seats. Kyle Simons no-no'd Vanderbilt his senior year at A&M. That was pretty special to watch.
Kyle, you remember how that game ended, Carp? how he recorded the final out of the game?
I got to remember. It was a line drive right back to him, wasn't it?
Line drive right back to him. And, you're talking about the KCK pitcher. It was very much one of those type of situations. And I texted Kyle, and I said, be honest, you stuck your glove up and had no idea you were going to catch that ball. And, of course, I think he said, no, I was all over it. Somewhat jokingly.
Of course he did. 2-2, the count to Wyatt Davis. Here's the pitch.
And also in that inning, I believe his center fielder made a diving catch for maybe it was the first out of the inning.
Yeah, I believe it was the first out.
And that cost Kyle lunch, as it should have.
3-2 count to Wyatt Davis. Doge at second. Here's the pitch. Line into center field. That's a base hit. Schmidt waves Doge around third. Here comes the throw. It is not nearly in time, and it's 6-0 Hutchinson. Davis drives in his second run of the game and continues his hot hitting.
It's really unique for the Blue Dragons that, and when we do the PA at home to announce now batting the pitcher, Wyatt Davis, I don't know that we've seen that anywhere else in all of our games this season.
Yeah, this is the first. Yeah, this year, Kyle Cricks used to do it several times with several pitchers. He had several two-way players over the years, so it's not uncommon to Blue Dragon baseball. Wolverton swings and fouls one out of play to the right. Now 6-0 Hutchinson, and they have tallied in 2 straight innings. So a good early bounce back from that devastating loss last night, but still much work to be done. Here's the pitch. Strike called, 0-2.
How costly was that? It's one thing if Doge beats out the infield single, but for the throwing error moves him to second, enabling him to score on the Davis base hit.
Right now we'd probably be looking no more than first and third. That pitch just off the plate wide. Krenrich tried to frame it, couldn't buy the call. And now it's 1-2 to Wolverton, who doubled in 2 runs his last time up. That was his first hit here in Wichita. Change up, and he fights it off. Nice piece of hitting to stay alive, and an error in the crowd.
Oh, and you know who committed that error, Carp?
Oh, yes, I do. It is one Missy Schmidt. The wife of head coach Ryan Schmidt. You know that's getting tweeted.
Boy, is she fixing to get lit up on Twitter.
Here's the pitch.
And she knows it's coming. The best part of that, Carp, Michael Hillman's mom Annette sitting there, my wife Michelle sitting there. They immediately looked up here.
Yes, they did. We've got him trained.
We do. I should have looked at Jamel Cervantes at first to see if he was, he's expecting it as much as we pick on him.
He's probably going to go in the dugout and check between innings. Curveball bounced to third. They go to second for the fourth, and the inning is over. But the Dragons tally one more, excuse me. And after 2.5, it is now 6-0 Blue Dragons. Fort Scott coming up, home half of the third. Hutchinson with a 6-0 lead here in this elimination game. The winner gets Neosho County again tonight at 7 p.m. Welcome back to Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Steve Carpenter, Denny Steckline with you. Bottom third of the order to face Wyatt Divis. He's faced the minimum through 2 innings. Although he's given up a couple of hits. One was erased on a double play, and then Morrow was erased by Scott Wolverton as Morrow tried to move up to second base, and Sean Moore takes ball 1 to start the third.
You know, Carp, we were talking about the booted foul ball by Missy Schmidt and the mom sitting over there. We'd be remiss if we didn't wish a happy Mother's Day to all the baseball moms listening out there in Blue Dragon country. And if you're from Fort Scott joining us today, happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Fly ball right to Morganson and left. Nearly in his tracks. He's got it for the first out of the third inning. I echo those comments. I know my mom was once again listening in Aurora, Nebraska with my sister Peg. So happy Mother's Day to those two. And I know my wife Tina is listening in. She's got the grandkids today up in Hutch. So Tina, very happy Mother's Day to you as well.
In addition to being Mother's Day, Carp, it's also a day of probably national importance, definitely regional importance. When you look at the campus of Hutchinson Community College, the community of Hutchinson, the garden spot of the universe, as it's known. Do you know what today is, Carp?
I believe it is Coach Dan Nacarato's birthday.
That's what I hear. And for the last 2 years, he has professed to be 86 years old. So I don't know if he's still 86 or if now he's 87 or 88. But he looks great for it.
Doesn't look a day over 77.
Not a bit.
Andrew McKenzie smokes one up the middle for a base hit. I think Wyatt Davis maybe got a little bit of leather on it, but that ball was hard hit. It's a 1-out single for McKenzie, the third hit for the Greyhounds. And now the right fielder, McKay Williams, steps in.
Coach Knack, if you're tuned in out there, happy birthday to you. Gene, if you're listening as well, this is Dan's day, so make sure he enjoys it.
Williams sprays one foul. McKay Williams was almost the hero of the Cali game on Friday. Wind was blowing in from left field toward the right field corner, and Williams just hooked a potential walk-off a foot foul in the bottom of the ninth. And pitch from Divis misses, and it's 1-1. McKay Williams, a 276 hitter, 358 on base, 4 home runs, 33 RBIs out of the 9 slot. Divis's pitch, a changeup low for 2-1. Fort Scott wound up losing that game in 10 innings to the Tigers. And that bounced them into the losers bracket yesterday, but they eliminated Barton. Hutchinson, the lone remaining Jayhawk West team, found back over the press box. I think everybody in the sound room getting a little jumpy after yesterday. That's a brand new sound rack in there. The season, wingnut season hasn't even started yet, and there's a big old dent in the new sound rack.
I've heard they're kind of pinning that one on you, Carp, because you should have snagged that ball as it was flying by your ear.
Swinging and miss, strike 3. Out number 2. Wyatt Divis records his second strikeout. It's back to the top of the order in the center fielder, Mitch Sloan. He singled to start the game, but then was erased on the Baker 6-4-3 double play. If I would actually saw that coming, I'm not sure what I would have done. I'm sure it would have been Twitter fodder for you more than.
Well, you know what? I had moved 2 booths over to where we're sitting right now to start looking at my notes for yesterday's game.
Little looper over Cooper's glove into left center field. Heading for third is McKenzie. Hackle hustles the back end, and it turns into a hustle double by Sloan. Perfectly placed ball. And now 2 on, 2 out for the Greyhounds.
And had I still been in the main press box where I had been talking to you, that's right where I was standing as well.
That is correct.
So, and as much as I abuse people on Twitter for their inability to field those balls, I'm glad I wasn't in the neighborhood to allow them to return the favor. But I think we all would have just hit the deck because that thing was...
that was screaming.
It was.
If I And again, this was a funny thing about it. My heart, I saw it right as it was passing my ear, and I felt it go past. I mean, it either just grazed my ear or it was the wind. That pitch is fouled out of play by Baker. But when it happened, it was just like, okay. And I just went back to work. My heart didn't start racing, thinking, boy, I just dodged the bullet. No, I just went back to work. It was. Yeah. I had several people come in and check on me. People were radioing up, and everything was cool.
Most of them were coming in to check on the new sound rack.
That's true. The Lawrence-Dumont staff was. Region 6 people were actually checking on me.
Probably the most disappointing thing about that, though, you had there were three Lady Blue Dragons softball players in there with you. And
no protection.
None at all. None at all. Their windows were all closed, so I guess that tells you how they were looking at those foul balls. They didn't want any part of it.
So Jamie Rose is listening. Cam Pope was one of those. She's at third base, and maybe I ought to consider taking her out the hot corner next year if she's not going to face those. 1-1 the count to Baker. Pitch from Divis is fouled out of play again. Will Baker, a .344 hitter for the year here in Wichita. 1 for 9. Fort Scott through 2 games here in Wichita, hitting .273, 6 doubles, 2 triples. They've scored 12 runs. Hitting better than the .345 for the season. Davis's pitch upstairs, a show pitch, and it's 2-2.
Critical juncture for Divis and the Blue Dragons here. One of those 2-out situations we've talked about, 2 runners in scoring position.
Divis gets the sign from Wolverton, and now comes set. Here's the pitch, pulled foul. Baker was way out in front of that. He cued that off the end of the bat, but stays alive nonetheless. Should be a really good winner's bracket final coming up at 4. Johnson County and Cowley. Johnson County won the flip last night and chose to hit first.
Interesting.
Kent Shelley really feeling good about his offense, and he should. It was a very impressive performance last night. 2-2 from Divis. High drive to left. Morganson drifting back short of the track. Has him measured and makes the catch. And Wyatt Divis works out of the 2-out jam. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. Each team is stranded 2 through 3 innings. We head to the 4th here at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Hutchinson 6 and Fort Scott nothing. On to the 4th here in Wichita in this elimination game of the Region 6 tournament. 6-0 Hutchinson. Steve Carpenter, Denny Steckline with you. And it'll be Brock Schaefer, Shane Cooper, Michael Holman, 9-1-2 against Nathan Miller. Gave up 5 in the second and 1 more in the third. So you figured John Hill has him on a short leash. Brock Schaefer grounded out to short. 10 to the third. It was a good play by the shortstop, Danny Cruz, to get the fleet-footed Schaefer. And it's strike 1 to start the 4th. Hutch with 5 in the second, 1 in the third of the runs. Let's get you the breakdown for Miller so far. The pitch swung on and missed, and it is 0-2. 7 hits, 6 runs, only 3 earned. He has struck out 1 and walked 1, and now 57 pitches.
Schaaf did ground out his last at bat, but it was a very productive ground out because it moved a runner into scoring position where he later came home.
6 runs, 7 hits for the Dragons. No runs, 4 hits, 2 errors for Fort Scott. Miller into the wind and bounces that pitch in. It's now 1-2.
Schaaf goes with the old school look on the high pants, striped socks.
Just a great look. That's a baseball look.
And he can pull it off. He's got the long legs.
1-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat, down the right field line into foul territory. Waterbury giving chase. Now the second baseman, Will Baker, comes and charges. And it drops in between Baker, Waterbury, and Williams harmlessly for a foul ball. You mentioned it last night, Denny, that this ballpark plays a little bit bigger, or is built a little bit bigger than most, or if not all, of the JAC conference schools. About 15 feet longer than Hobart-Detter Field. There's just a lot. That adds a lot more running room for the outfielders. The pitch.
Yeah, and you know, first, second, and right field each had a very, very long run to try to get to that ball. And Schaaf, it was a very high hit ball. In most ballparks, probably an out, but not here.
Here's the 2-2. Way outside, and Schaefer's worked the count full.
Let's see if Schaaf can take advantage of the new opportunity.
He trailed in the count 0-2 and then now run it full. The pitch stays alive again. I love his mentality at the plate. He is a battler up there. Never gets cheated on a swing. And that's why he's started most of the last month and a half of the season. The pitch. Got him swinging on a changeup, 1 away. That is the second strikeout for Nathan Miller. And it's back to the top of the order in Shane Cooper.
Coops hit it hard both times up. Nothing to show for it at this point. Well, I shouldn't say that. He did try. You know, I said Schaaf moved the guy to third with his ground out, and Coop's the one who brought him home.
Cooper with his 100th career RBI in his last at bat. He now has 51 for the season. That's coming out of the leadoff spot. 1-0 to Coop, the pitch. Taken for a strike at the knees, 1-1. Shane Cooper's career numbers: 174 hits, 35 doubles, 6 triples, 19 home runs, 100 RBIs. He's walked 54 times. Swings and misses at that offering from Miller, and it's 1-2.
Carp, I'm quite certain our friend Coach Nex tuned in. He tweeted something that giving some pointers on how to catch foul balls using a visual reference of the picture of Mike Moustakas when he laid himself out a couple of seasons ago and caught one before almost tumbling into one of the dugout suites.
I believe that was during the World Series, the ALCS.
Yeah, good question. I don't remember.
I remember that being during the playoffs. 1-2 to Coop. He fought the last pitch off. Sophomore out of O'Fallon, Missouri. Third-year sophomore. The pitch. High chopper, third base line, but it's foul.
Those last 2 choppers down the third base line, both foul, but I think I see where Missy Schmidt gets her technique, because head coach Ryan Schmidt was backpedaling on both of them, made sure he allowed plenty of room for the third baseman to get in and take those balls.
You know, Jamel Cervantes is tallying all these little notes over at first. Here's a swing and a miss. That's 2 consecutive strikeouts on changeups. Third strikeout for Miller, 2 up and 2 down here in the Dragon. Fourth from Michael Hellman.
Fort Scott coach John Hill's got to be exhaling a little bit, you know. In that Blue Dragon second, they had a couple of arms up in the bullpen, not knowing how long and how much more mileage they were going to get out of Marshall, or Miller, I'm sorry. And every inning you can get when you've got to win 5 in the next 3 days is critical to the team.
1-0. Ground ball to short, and it's booted by Cruz. That'll be the third error of the game on the Greyhounds. It'll make Hellman 1 for 3, and he drops below 500 momentarily for the season. Now Bobby Morganson 0 for 1 with a walk.
Bobby's due to square one up.
Hitting out of an open stance. Here's the pitch. In there for a strike, a changeup. '86 RBIs. Here's the pitch. Hold on a changeup again. So Nathan Miller has found the change, and the Dragons haven't. That's one of the reason that Miller's still in this game. He's been able to get the Dragons to offer at those changeups, and they're
See if he comes back to it. Fastball there.
missed it low, and it's 1-2.
Schaefer and Cooper both fell victim to a 2-strike changeup, and you know Morganson had to have that in the back of his mind.
Hellman gets his lead at first. He has a team high 29 stolen bases. Leaning does not go. Ground ball past the first baseman in the right field. Hellman heading for third. That's now 8 hits for the Dragons. Morganson gets his first. Hellman goes first to third. And a chance for some 2-out magic for Nolan Hackle.
See if the Blue Dragons can take advantage now of that error with 2 outs that allowed Hellman to reach. Hack flew out to right in his last at bat, reached on an error in the second.
Hackle 3 RBIs here in Wichita. It's 5 RBIs in the postseason. Only 1 extra base hit. That was a triple here on Friday night against Kansas City. The pitch. That's the line to right field. And it's a 2-out RBI for Hackle, his 6th of the postseason. The Dragons lead at 7-0.
As good as John Hill felt about Miller's ability to get back in this game, that 2-out error that just came across home plate is going to eat at him.
And we will have a pitching change. John Hill on his way to the mound to make it. 7-0 Dragons here in the 4th. We'll return in a moment. Right-hander Joe Fergano makes his second appearance here in Wichita. Fergano, a 6'5", 228-pound freshman from Fort Worth, Texas, is in relief of Nathan Miller. The numbers on Fergano on for the 10th time. 1-1 record with a 5.34 earned run average. 14 innings pitched, 9 hits, 8 runs all earned. He has struck out 9 but walked 10. Fergano making his second appearance. He pitched in the game on Friday and took the loss. Went 1 2/3 innings, allowed 1 hit, 2 runs, both earned. Struck out 2 and walked 1. So he comes into a situation where Hutchinson has plated an unearned run. All this started with 2 out. That is now 22 two-out RBIs in 5 postseason games. Hellman reached on an error, and then it was back-to-back singles from Morganson and Hackle, and Nolan Hackle drove in his 6th postseason RBI. And now Fragano will face Brady Hoover, who's 1 for 2 with an RBI double and a run scored. The pitch. First pitch swinging is popped up, and it will get back out of play. Backed it.
Landed right in front of us on the net, Carp.
I thought it might have carried a little further, but all of a sudden it dropped straight down, almost right in front of us.
Something head coach Ryan Schmidt has to like at this point is, last night the Blue Dragons got 3 in the first, 3 in the third, and then more goose eggs than you'd like to see. Here they didn't score in the first, but they've put 5 on the board in the second, 1 in the third, 1 so far here in the fourth.
There's a rocket back off the facade of the press box. That is one noise I'm going to miss when the new ballpark is here. A foul ball off of this press box makes one of the most unusual, unique noises. I love that noise.
I'm sure if, you've spent as much time in this ballpark as a lot of people, so they may solicit some of your...
Ground ball to the right side, fielded by Baker. He throws out Hoover to end the inning.
Some of your input, Carp, and they may just keep a strip of that up there for you.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Dragons score for their third straight inning. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error, and 2 left. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Dragons now lead Fort Scott 7-0. Bottom of the 4th here in Wichita, 7-0 Blue Dragons. Had a couple of people check in on the email, or on my text. Former pitching coach Craig Friedendahl from down in Texas, and father of Blue Dragon pitcher Noah Colhanick, Alan Colhanick, checking in. Thanks for checking in and appreciate you listening. Surprised we haven't heard anything from Coach Knack yet.
Yeah, other than the little tweet that he had with Moose's picture.
Cruz pops one up on a 1-0 pitch into shallow left. Bobby Morganson calling everybody off, and he makes the catch for out number 1.
I'm so proud of myself. I like to, when I do some tweets, I like to, some of the guys probably had some of these nicknames, but some of them I just take the liberty of making up myself, and Noah's was just custom made for the arc.
It was.
But with him being sidelined, we haven't been able to use that.
Yeah, I've always felt like you're straight man on Twitter. I'm more of the straightforward stuff, but you come up with the really good stuff. Here's Brandon Krendwitz, the catcher.
Speaking of our Twitter victims, we've got a couple of Hutch Blue Dragon softballers who've joined us up here, Molly and Cam.
And pitch by Krendwitz, sprayed foul toward the Dragon dugout, bounced off of his side and came all the way down and bounced onto the field.
I hope their defense is better today than it was yesterday, because when that foul liner came back into the press box, they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, considering Cam's a third baseman, I really was wondering where the protection was. So here's the pitch. Strike at the knees, and it's 0-2. Crenrich didn't like that call. Blue Dragons softball completed another strong season this year. Got to the regional finals for the first time in 30 years. Crenrich lines another one foul off the press box facade. We're going to miss Molly. She's been one of my buds for 2 years. I get Cam back next year. That's good to know. Here's the 0-2. Did he go around? Yes, he did. Wolverton tags him out, and that's a strikeout. 2 up, 2 down here in the fourth. Right now for Divis, 3 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, no runs allowed. And he is giving Ryan Schmidt exactly what he needs. This Divis at 51 pitches. First pitch swinging is Morrow. Hits it high to left field and deep.
That's going to go.
Morganson looking, and it's gone. So that breaks up the shutout on a home run by Morrow. That is his 9th round tripper of the year, RBI number 44. And the lead cut to 7-1. I just got done saying that Wyatt Divis was giving Ryan Schmidt everything that he needed, and then he gives up that home run. 2 out solo shot by Morrow, and that'll bring up Quinn Waterbury, the first baseman, who lined out to Shane Cooper his first time up. Ford Scott now with 5 hits. Hutchinson's out hit him 9-5. First pitch hacking again. And the first base coach, Andrew Janus, fielded cleanly. I'm sure that Jamel Cervantes is wondering.
He's peeking up here. I just don't understand why everybody we play, their coaches are such good fielders.
Fastball just a little bit outside, and it's 1-1.
You know, one of my favorite stories related to that was last season, and there was one, I'll admit, it was a sharp grounder hit the first, and Jamel went down and tried to field it, and I don't think he was successful, which is pretty much the norm, but it dislocated one of his fingers. And he fought through that because he says, I wasn't going to show it that had happened, that I was in pain, he said, because I knew that I'd get lit up even more.
2-2 the count now. Here's the pitch. That's a strikeout, and the inning is over. Scott Wolverton held on to it. Wyatt Divis gives up the 2-out home run tomorrow. 1 run, 1 hit. We've completed 4 here in Wichita. Our new score, Hutchinson 7 and Fort Scott 1. Welcome back to Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. I keep wanting to say Hobart Detter. It's habit for me. I call so many games there between our games and between the Monarchs. I'm at Hobart Detter so much from February to August. It's hard not to say everything is Hobart Detter, but we are at Lawrence-Dumont.
You know, I think we had 32 home games this year, so it rolled off your tongue quite a bit. And good to hear got a text from Coach Knack, so he is tuned in listening. I figured he probably had, at his age now, and today being his birthday, probably just awoke from his afternoon nap, checking out Blue Dragon baseball.
Caden Doge, 2 for 2, leads off the 5th. Let me see the Dragons keep pouring it on. Swing and a miss. Doge now 5 for 16 in the postseason. Again, 2 for 2 today. He has scored 2 runs. A pitch pulled foul. Joe Fragano came in the 4th inning in relief of Nathan Miller. I got to tell you a story about Craig Friedendahl, the former Blue Dragon pitching coach. And Fry's one of my great friends as well. But this is one of the untold stories from that 2010 team. Change up, pop foul out of play. If you remember me telling you the story about the sub-regionals up in Overland Park, there was a lot of rain, so we had a lot of downtime. And we're all sitting at breakfast. It was me, Fry, he was sitting to my left. Kyle Crooks, his wife Delana, that pitch taken high. Stephen Adams and assistant coach John Hansen. Now, if you knew Kyle Crooks, he liked his coffee firehouse style, piping hot and strong as can be. Well, John Hansen, God love him, wasn't that way. Doge swings and pops one up into shallow right, drifting back is Baker.
He doesn't see it.
Didn't find it, and that's going to be a hustle double for Doge. He's 3 for 3. Baker never saw the ball in this cloudless sky.
We've got the high sky. We saw this come into play at Hobart Detter in the Labette series, but he had his glove up to shield himself, and then I saw him look towards the shortstop, and you knew right then that he didn't have any idea where the ball was.
So a double for Doge. He's 3 for 3. That'll bring up Wyatt Dibbs, who's 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs. So getting back to the story, Fry and I are about ready to witness one of the greatest all-time one-on-one battles between two coaches ever. And one of the more bizarre battles you ever see. We're at Denny's in Lenexa eating breakfast, and the waitress brings a new carafe of coffee. Well, Crooksy grabs it, pours it in, he just pounds it down like I pound down Coca-Colas. I mean, hot, strong, nothing. John Hansen, as Divis takes the strike and it's 1-1, gets his coffee, pours it in, and takes about 19 pieces of ice and pours it into the coffee cup to cool it off. And it was you talk about two ends, and Fry and I are just watching this like a tennis match. It was did they call a balk or time?
He called time.
Okay.
Called time. You hate, you hate to see him grant time at that situation. The pitcher's in his windup, and he's got to put on the brakes. He doesn't have to put on the brakes, but they typically do.
Here's the pitch upstairs. We saw that Friday night. Nolan Hoffman was into his windup, and he was actually coming through when time was granted and nearly hit a KCK batter. Fortunately, he took enough juice off of it or it wouldn't have hurt him. But anyway, so Crooksy's pounding this coffee, Hansen's being dainty with his, and Fry and I are just going back and forth watching this like a tennis match. It was must-see TV. Fly ball to center field. Sloan has it tracked, makes the catch. Doge fakes the tag, but stays put. Divis now 2 for 3, and there's one out here in the Dragon fifth. And you had to be there. It's probably a much funnier story being there. But just watching Fry and I, we look like a couple of stoic people reporting on a chess match, but it was hilarious to watch Crooksy and John Hansen go at it. And Fry, I hope you remember that story because you and I were mesmerized by this whole thing. Here's Scott Wolverton with the runner at second, 1 out.
Carp, you've been over here since Friday is when you started working the tournament here?
Yes, I came Thursday night for the league meeting, and I've been here for the whole tournament.
All right, so starting Thursday night, here we are Sunday afternoon. The tally board I'm looking at behind us here in the press box shows you're up to Coca-Cola bottle number 87. Is that correct?
That would be correct. I'm actually kind of behind pace normal for this tournament. The umpires keep taking our Cokes out of the suite. There's a strike and it's 0-2. So my Coke consumption is down thanks to the umpires. 0-2, the count to Wolverton.
Dragons have out-hit the Hounds 10-5.
Wolverton with a 2-run double in the second, reached on an RBI and scored in the third. The pitch, fooled on a changeup. He goes around. Brandwich will have to go to second to complete the strikeout. Now there's 2 away.
Actually, he only had to go to first with that one, Carp.
That's right. I'm looking at Doge. Boy, I am tired. Let's just say sleep and me haven't been getting along lately.
Well, you can count on me to
set me
point
straight.
out. Yeah.
Here's Brock Schaefer, runner at second, 2 away.
That was a rule change recently. You used to have to throw
You
to
do.
second.
That's
Carp.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I've been around this game so long. Pitch inside and it hit him. So Schaefer wears a pitch. And that'll be Shane Cooper hitting for the 4th time.
You know, Brock is 6'3", listed at a generous 190, I think, and he gets hit as much or more than anybody.
So Shane Cooper steps in.
Let's see if the Dragons can take advantage now. You know, that's not an error, but it's a two-out mistake, and see if they can make Fort Scott pay for that.
Swing and a miss, and the Dragons just not getting they're looking fastball and not adjusting well to the changeup. Nothing went to Cooper. That was the 6th hit by pitch for Brock Schaefer and the 71st of the year for the Blue Dragons. First and second, 2 away here in the top of the 5th, the pitch. Strike 2 called, and Cooper hits out of an 0-2 hole. Now Krenrich is going to go talk to Fragano.
That did not look like what Krenrich was expecting. It worked out to their advantage or their favor, but I think they're going to get on the same page. Coop coming up for the 4th time here in the top of the 5th. So the Dragons have been putting the ball in play and getting the plate appearances.
Doge at second, Schaefer at first. The pitch from Fragano is hit to center field. Sloan coming in. He's got it, and the inning is over. So the Dragons threaten. They get a leadoff double from Doge, but can't move him along any further. Halfway through here in this elimination game, game number 10 of the Region 6 tournament. It's the Dragons 7 and the Greyhounds 1. Well, on Coach Dan Naccarado's 86th birthday, the Dragons so far doing well, 7-1 Hutch. Halfway through in this elimination game. It is the lower third of the order to face Wyatt Divis, Sean Moore, Andrew McKenzie, and McKay Williams. Sean Moore lined out to Bobby Morganson and left his first time up. And it's ball 1 to start the 5th inning. Wyatt Divis threw his first 4, 5 hits, 1 run. 4 strikeouts, no walks. The only run he's given up was the home run. There's a strike to Moore, and it's a ball and a strike to count to the Fort Scott third baseman. The pitch. High chopper, deep third. Doge has it, pours it across in time. 1 away. Moore flat tomahawk that ball to Doge, and he makes a strong throw for the first out. Moore's now 0 for 2. Now Andrew McKenzie, the designated hitter. He singled his first time up and was stranded at third.
Carp, I know you're a big, like myself, a big baseball fan, a big follower of baseball trivia. And I know you'll probably know the answer to this question, but, you know, there's a pretty prominent baseball name associated with Fort Scott.
Andrew LaRoche.
And?
Another one. Okay, I always remembered Andrew LaRoche. So lay it on me.
He's got a brother.
Oh, that's right.
Adam
LaRoche. That's
Adam
right.
and Andy LaRoche.
Adam and Andy LaRoche. That's right.
A couple of former major leaguers. And there's a third LaRoche.
Their father.
Whose name was?
Dave.
Very good. Former major leaguer. So, and I know the LaRoche family's been very, very supportive of the Fort Scott community and baseball in that community, which you love to see, to give kids the opportunities to play when they're young and grow up loving and playing the greatest game. What pitch was their father known for?
The ephus pitch.
Which he nicknamed what?
That I always knew it as the ephus pitch. So you got me on this one.
Well, when your name is LaRoche, you nickname it
Lalab.
Lalab.
Right. That's
very
right.
good.
That's right. Needed to be walked into that one. 2-2
Yeah.
the count to McKenzie.
Normally, when we're bantering like this in the Hobart Debtor press box, we don't handhold this much when
No,
it comes
not
to
at
it.
all.
But
Pitch taken low. It's a full count.
hopefully, if we've got some Fort Scott folks listening, hopefully they've been impressed with our knowledge of a little bit of Fort Scott baseball trivia. And that, we won't tell them, but that's pretty much the extent of it, too, I think.
It is. It is. Although I have covered games many times. I've never covered a baseball game in Fort Scott. 3-2 pitch. Just missed wide. Been kind of a tight zone today, but it's been consistent from home plate umpire Tim Carpenter. And again, I preface that no relation. Here's McKay Williams, the right fielder. Runner at first, one away. A big inning for the Dragons and for Wyatt Davis to keep it quiet and try to get the Dragons back in and score some more runs. And I'll tell you why here in a moment. The pitch, ground or foul ball back. It's coming up my way, but hit the screen. Right now, if you're the Dragons, you're thinking you got to get this game sure, and you got to do whatever you can to extend the season. But if somehow you can get this game to a run rule and save a couple of innings, that is huge down the line. Fly ball to left down the line. Morganson right on the line makes the catch, just in foul territory for out number 2. But Ryan Schmidt and the staff has to think that way. If you have a chance to save a couple of innings, you got to take that. You got to take your shot.
Absolutely, and you're right. First and foremost, you want to get the victory, whatever it takes. But you don't want to take your foot off the gas if you have opportunities to score some runs and get this to, at least an 8-run, but if not a 10-run advantage. But
Mitch Sloan, the batter, leadoff hitter, and it's ball 1 from Divis. Sloan 2 for 2. He has singled and doubled. Now the run rules here in the region are the same they are in Grand Junction. 10 after 5, 8 after 7. That is different from the conference rule where it's 10 after 7. The wind in the pitch. Lifted to right field. Schaefer coming in. Got the glasses down. He's got it, and the inning is over.
Nice job by Wyatt to work around the one-out walk.
We've completed 5 at Lawrence-Dumont. Hutchinson 7, and Fort Scott 1. This is Blue Dragon Baseball. Neosho County eliminated Fort Scott earlier today, 7-6 in a game that featured 4 lead changes after the 5th inning.
KCK, Carp. KCK.
What did I say?
You said Fort Scott.
Sorry. Boy, I am losing it. Either way, Neosho County won the game, and now Fort Scott and Hutch battle to meet them at 7 o'clock tonight. Michael Hellman to lead it off. 2, 3, and 4 here in the 6th against Joe Fergano, who's into his 2nd full inning. First pitch swing is Hellman. He hits it a sky-high fly
Shield.
ball into center. And Mitch Sloan has it for out number 1. Hellman now 1 for 4, and that'll bring up Bobby Morganson.
Got excited there for a second because Sloan put his hand up to shield the high sky from him. But he had a beat on it.
Bobby 1 for 3, singled his last time up in the 4th. Misses outside for ball 1. That foul ball caught, I believe, the catcher, Krenwich. I'm thinking, yep, that was some Schmidt kids yelling right below us because Missy's on the move.
That's one of the highlights of ball games, not just at Hobart Detter, because, when you're a baseball family, you follow your husband's team and support them home and away, but 5 little ones.
Yeah.
To keep dibs on, and Michelle and I are very fortunate to call them neighbors as well, so they live just a few doors down from us, and we get to spend a lot of time chasing the little ones around the yard and throughout the neighborhood.
Brandon Krenwich, after taking a foul ball, now blocks one. He's in a little bit of discomfort. I'll play Tim Carpenter, giving him a few moments to collect himself.
Carp, with the turf here, it's got to be an adjustment for a catcher, because when you get a ball in the dirt, when it's truly dirt, I would think it deadens it more. You're certainly going to get some that bounce up at you, but on this turf, they're going to come at you at different angles, different speed,
different spin,
everything. And it's going to beat those guys up even more than what they normally would get beat up.
3-2 pitch. Morganson lifts one down the left field line, but it's hooking and landing foul. Dragons with 5 in the second, single runs in the 3rd and 4th. Fort Scott's lone run came in the bottom of the 4th.
It's up to 84 degrees here as we reach the 3 o'clock hour.
Once again, the 3-2, ground ball right to short. Cruz has it and throws out Morganson for out number 2. And Fergano's done a nice job since coming into the game in the 4th inning. He's just allowed 1 hit, and he's hit 1. There's Nolan Hackle. Hack an RBI single his last time up. That made it at that time 7-0. First pitch swinging, fouls it back over the press box. Before they moved Riverfest, the Wichita citywide festival, they always played it on this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It was always a lot of fun down here during Region 6.
Yeah, I would imagine there was a lot of scenery.
Slow tapper foul. Krenwich thought he could buy one and tried to swat it fair. That doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't, but I kind of wish it had played out, because he swatted it past the pitcher and out between short and third, and would have been a hit for Hack.
We've reached the 3 o'clock hour. We've been playing 90 minutes now. Here's the 0-2, way outside for a ball 1-2. That pitch misses. And it's 2-2. Mark Blackham checking in, giving me some information for the upcoming Monarch season. Why isn't he here?
I don't know. He was here last night. Great to see Mark.
2-2 pitch. Hackle pulls it foul past Jamel Cervantes. One of the worst efforts we've seen from Mel this year.
It was not a good effort, but it's become what we're accustomed to seeing.
Once again, the pitch in the dirt. Krenwich gets hit again. Now it's a full count.
I think Jamel has given up. He knows he cannot win the battle against Twitter.
The priceless one was last week at Hobart when he fielded that one barehanded with one hand and pointed right at you. Hackle hits one high to right field and deep toward the corners. McKay Williams, he reaches up and makes the catch. A fine defensive play by McKay Williams, and the Dragons go in order in the sixth. We head to the bottom of the sixth. Dragons lead Fort Scott 7-1. Bottom of the sixth here at Lawrence-Dumont. Fort Scott comes up trailing Hutch 6-1. Big inning for Wyatt Davis. He gets the heart of the order. Baker, Cruz, and Krenrich 2, 3, and 4. Dragons with a 6-run lead. Like we were talking between innings, kind of a tenuous moment for Hutch. In terms of the Dragons' offense has slowed down 2 scoreless innings through the fifth and the sixth. It's strike one to Will Baker. He was 0 for 2, including a double play.
You know, we gave the Blue Dragons credit in the second, third, and fourth because they scored runs each of those innings and kept aggressive at the plate, and now they've gone 2 scoreless in the top of the fifth and the sixth, and it's not a pattern that Coach Schmidt wants to see them fall into.
Davis is 1-1, a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-2.
You talked about Mark Blackham last inning, owner and general manager of the Hutchinson Monarchs, the collegiate summer team that plays at Hobart Detter Field. There's going to be a host of Blue Dragons joining that roster this summer. It's going to be it's always an exciting, fun summer to spend at the ballpark, but to get to see these guys, and they'll kick off that action 2 weeks from this coming week.
Yes.
And I would like nothing better than for those Blue Dragons to miss
not
the
be
first
there.
few games.
Here's the 2-2. Line down the left field line. This is trouble. That's a fair ball and into the corner. Morganson plays it well. Heading for second is Baker, and it's a leadoff double to start the sixth for the Greyhounds. Now 6 hits for Fort Scott. Baker 1 for 3. That's his second hit of the tournament. And now Danny Cruz steps in, a strikeout and a fly out to left.
If the Dragons are not in Hutchinson for the opening of that season, that means they're in Grand Junction, Colorado for the NJCAA World Series.
The pitch. And there for a strike to Cruz, 0-1.
Our battery today, Wyatt Davis and Scott Wolverton, are both going to be part of that roster. As will Brady Hoover, Bobby Morganson, Ryan Steckline, Grady Kirkhart, Ryan Junker, Jordan Henning.
Pitch outside for ball, and it's 1-1. Would have had Noah Colhannock, but he is injured. Davis gives a look at second, now delivers the 1-1 eventually, and now the pitch. Change up, barely foul off, and it's 1-2. Right now, Wyatt Davis needs to pay no attention to Baker at second. His run at the moment inconsequential. Sure, you don't want to give him a free ride to third, but you really need to focus on getting the next batter, and that next batter is Cruz. Davis ahead in the count 1-2. Now delivers. Foul off. Divis's pitch count. His next pitch will be his 80th. He's been in the zone 54 times. Dragon bullpen quiet at the moment. Hutchinson's out hit for it's got 10-6. So far that 5-run second standing up for Hutchinson. Here's the pitch. Wow. Where did that miss? Had to be a hair outside, and it's 2-2. Tim Carpenter's zone has been small today.
It's a pitch that, and we talked about this a little bit last night too, that every pitcher wants and every pitcher's coach wants. But they have not been giving that one that may be a hair off the plate when it's a 2-strike delivery.
Now the 2-2.
Oftentimes you see the batter rung up on one of those pitches. But that's not been the case so far this weekend.
Cruz fouls one off and a pitch in on his hands. Good location from Divis. Once again, the 2-2. Foul off again. A good battle between Danny Cruz and Wyatt Divis. He's fouled off 3 consecutive 2-strike pitches. Baker led off with a double into the left field corner. Bottom of the 6th, 7-1 Hutch. The pitch. Foul back again. That's 4 straight with 2 strikes.
Cruz making Divis work here and increasing that pitch count.
Which is critical because Ryan Schmidt wants to ride Wyatt as long as he can and keep that bullpen as fresh as possible. In the dirt, blocked by Wolverton. No advancement by Baker, and Cruz has ran the count full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. It is a balancing act like none other when you reach the postseason of a double elimination tournament. How many pitches you want a pitcher to go. I mean, some rules are thrown out, and you have to really think on the fly of exactly how you want to handle your staff, especially coming through the loser's bracket. 3-2 pitch. Foul off again.
Is that pitch number 10 in this at-bat card?
Yes, it is. Pitch count now up to 85. He's fought off 5 2-strike pitches. Three-two pitch. In on the hands, ground to the right side, fielded by Hoover. He flips to Divis, covering for out number 1. Nice play, going 3-1. Baker moves up to third with 1 out. That'll bring up catcher Brandon Krenrich. He's 0 for 2. Struck out his last time up. Infield will play back for the Dragons. They'll give up the run for the out. Now Ryan Schmidt is going to head to the mound. Over the last 2-3 weeks ago, Schmidt, made all the mound trips. He had been splitting him up with Scott Reller. I think in the situations as there is some movement in the Dragon bullpen.
Jaden Simmons going to start to get warm. Jaden's another one of the Blue Dragons that'll play for the Monarchs this summer.
A lot of the times Schmidt's gone out to talk to his pitchers, it's usually to see where their head is. Schmidt has a very unique way of looking right into his pitcher's eyes to see what they're talking about. I think they're also talking about some strategy because he's also talking with Michael Hellman. Right now, the strategy is throw strikes and get out.
You know, most of the time we see when Schmidt goes out to the mound and the whole infield gathers around, but depending on the situation, sometimes it's a very focused one-on-one conversation between him and the pitcher. We saw that yesterday with Zach Moore, trying to keep him focused because of the layoff Zach's experience with the injury.
Brandon Krenwich fouls one back to the screen. So one way to look at all these foul balls is Fort Scott starting to get their timing on Divis. The other way to look at it is Divis still has excellent movement, and he's got the Greyhounds off balance. The pitch. That one's hit to right center field. Schaefer on the run. He can't reach it, and it will two-hop the wall. Scoring easily is Baker, and Cranbrook will pull into second with a one-out double. The Dragon lead once 7, now down to 5. It's 7-2. And that might have answered my question as to the movement on the pitches. So Baker scores 2 extra base hits in the inning. Runner at second, one out for Andrew Morrow. He homered his last time up, a long home run to left field. 7 hits now for Fort Scott.
Morrow's home run didn't need any help from the wind in his last at bat.
Morrow pops one up into shallow right. Hellman, fighting the sun, makes the catch. And there's 2 away. A big second out. Now Quinn Waterbury, the batter. Waterbury has some pop. 0 for 2. Waterbury here in Wichita has had a nice series up until today. Now 2 for 10. He does have a double. Waterbury with 12 home runs on the year. He takes ball 1 from Divis, who throws his 89th pitch of the game. 61 have been in the zone, so control hasn't been an issue. The Greyhounds have made him work this inning, throwing a lot of 2-strike foul balls. Good changeup there. It swung through and missed, and now it's 1-1.
70 pitches coming into this inning. You knew getting another 2 to 3 innings out of him was going to be tough. I would imagine if he can get out of this one here with Waterbury, we may see him come out in the 7th, but I would question beyond that if we're going to see him on the mound for the Blue Dragons.
The 1-1. Ground ball pulled foul. And it's 1-2. On Friday night in his complete game victory, Nolan Hoffman threw 122 pitches. One and 2 the count. Divis to Waterbury the pitch. High and outside, 2-2. If you want to talk about some of the guttiest postseason pitching in Blue Dragon history, once again 2010, Sean Lewick in the sub-regional threw 144 pitches in a victory over Allen in the opener. The pitch sprayed foul again. Then in the second championship game against Johnson County, and again that game was played at Lawrence Free State because it was turf field and all the rain, Sean Lewick came in to the game in the 4th inning and battled and threw another 132 pitches. So almost 280 pitches over a 5-day stretch for Sean Lewick. That was one of the guttiest performances ever by a Dragon pitcher. That pitch lifted down the left field line. Doge sprinting, giving chase, but nobody can get to it. And it drops for a foul ball, and Waterbury's still alive. Really, nobody had a good chance on that one.
No, they didn't, and it wasn't hit high enough to give them time to get underneath it. You know, looking at the left field line, and by the time you get to the stands, Carp, it's, gosh, 100, 120 feet probably. There's a lot of real estate out there.
More down the left field line than the right field. The right field line will taper, and it gets closer as you get closer to the fair pole. But it's straight down the equal way all the way down to the fair pole down the left field side here at Lawrence-Dumont.
Well, it does my heart good to hear you call that the fair pole. Never understood why it's called the foul pole, because if the ball hits the pole, it's fair.
It's a fair ball. And those screens point inwards. That's fair territory. Two-two pitch. Foul back out of play. It's now 25 pitches in the inning for Wyatt Davis. So with each pitch thrown this inning, less and less likely we will see him much longer. He's not thrown over 100 this year. I believe his high mark was 97. So he's coming up on that on this, or in 2 pitches. Here's the 2-2. Pulled foul. That scatters the Johnson County players a little bit.
Give credit to Fort Scott this inning. They fouled off, probably 15, 20 pitches amongst all the at-bats and have really made Wyatt work.
There have been some coaches, youth coaches, more than the college or the pro coaches, who actually get mad at foul balls. Those are the greatest things in the world to run up pitch counts. High pop, shallow left. In comes Morganson. He's got it measured, makes the catch, and the inning is over. Nice job by Wyatt Davis. 29 pitches in the inning, but he only gives up 1 run. Couple of doubles. And we've completed 6 here at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. It is now Hutchinson 7 and Fort Scott 2. Fort Scott head coach John Hill goes to the bullpen and brings in sophomore Keller Egri into the ball game. Egri out of Overland Park, Kansas, 6'1", 172 pounds. He's making his 11th overall appearance, 5 starts, a 4-2 record with 1 complete game and a 5.62 ERA, 6.52 ERA. 34 innings pitched, 48 hits, 29 runs, 25 earned. He has struck out 18 and walked 7. So Agri in is the 3rd pitcher. He gets Brady Hoover, Caden Doge, and Wyatt Davis here in the top of the 7th. Hutchinson with a 7-2 lead. So far that 5-run second still standing up. Hoover takes a strike. Brady Hoover so far today, 1 for 3, an RBI double in the 2nd and a run scored. He then took a called 3rd in the 3rd and grounded out in the 4th. So the Dragons would love to get the offense going. They've been stagnant the last 2 after scoring in 3 straight. The pitch is a slider low and outside for a ball from Agri, and it's 1-1. First appearance here in Wichita for Agri. Hard hit ground ball to short. Cruz has it. And it's 1 away here in the 7th. Hoove now 1 for 4. Here's Caden Doge working on a 3-hit game. 2 singles and then a high sky aided double. He popped one into shallow center field that Will Baker never saw, and it dropped, and Caden hustled it into a double.
It's a double that went higher than it did far.
And that double was the last Dragon hit of the game. They have 10.
5 Dragons in a row now have been retired by Fort Scott pitchers.
Ball 1 to Doge. Here's the pitch. Pop foul out play to the right. That's 1-1. Dragons trying to extend their season. That's sad news.
Yeah, Steve Palermo, the great former Major League umpire, Kansas City resident, has passed away at the age of 67.
Doge takes inside, and it's 2-1 now. The pitch.
You know,
umpires 3-1.
Umpires certainly get a bad rap for the work they do, but, you know, Palermo and another gentleman, I think it was 1991, they were working probably a Ranger series in Texas, and there were 2 waitresses being robbed outside of a restaurant, and they went to the aid of those waitresses, and they were shot trying to assist those ladies, leaving Palermo paralyzed. Eventually worked his way back to walking again.
Fly ball to center field, shallow, now in the left center. Blow makes the catch, 1 away, and Doge's retired for the first time today. He's 3 for 4. There's now 6 in a row retired. The only batter to reach since Doge's double was Brock Schaefer, being hit with the pitch a couple of batters later. Now Wyatt Divis 2 for 3, a couple of singles. And takes low and in, ball 1. Jaden Simmons has sat down in the pen. Either he's ready or Wyatt Divis is going to run back out in the 7th. Ball hit toward the gap, left center field. This is going to get down and one hop the wall. In fact, bounce over for a ground rule double. That is now 7 consecutive doubles for Wyatt Divis that have gone to left center field. 11th hit of the game, and it's a 2-out RBI opportunity for Hutchinson and Scott Wolverton.
And Dayton Lane is starting to make the trip down to the Blue Dragon bullpen as well. Dayton made an appearance yesterday, but didn't throw a lot of pitches, so he should not have any problem being ready to go today.
Wolverton 1 for 3, a 2-run double in the 2nd, reached on a fielder's choice in the 3rd, then struck out in the 5th, and swings and misses at that Agri offering. 0-1.
In case you're tuned in and wondering, should the Blue Dragons replace Wyatt Divis on the mound, he will simply just transition over to become the designated hitter. So we will not lose his bat in the lineup.
Pitch, strike on the outside corner, 0-2 to Wolverton. Dragons with a 7-2 lead, looking to add some here with 2 outs in the 7th. Agri steps off. It is just amazing how McLean Street in Wichita is a motorcycle haven. Here's the 0-2. Fastball outside, a ball and 2 strikes to the Dragon catcher.
Beautiful scene and an amazing view from the press box. We've got downtown Wichita, beyond center field, Century 2, Intrust Bank Arena, off well over right field. You've got the river. And Carp, that guy out there, that's what you call a jogger. So yeah. I know that's somewhat foreign to you.
It is. But I understand the concept. 2-2 pitch. Hit well to center field. Sloan going back at the track. And it's over his head and off the wall. 1 run scores. Wolverton's heading for 3rd, and he's in safely. A 2-out RBI triple for Wolverton. His second 3-bagger of the year. Drives in number 26, a big insurance run, and the Dragons lead at 8-2.
Boy, it's good to see the Dragons take advantage of the 2-out situation. Not the first time they've done it today, but the troubles they've had at times getting out of those predicaments. And good to see him do that and make Fort Scott work a little harder now. And that's going to bring up Brock Schaefer with Wolverton just 90 feet away.
Schaefer first pitch swinging. He fouls it off. That likely a home run at Detter off the bat of Wolverton.
And that foul ball by Schaefer, I think, should go down in history as the shortest foul ball ever because it went straight into the turf about 6 inches from home plate and didn't move.
Inside corner for a strike from Agri, and it's 0-2. Love to see the Dragons keep pouring it on here. Again, that all plays into the overall scheme of things. We said you got to win 5 in a row to get to Grand Junction. And you got to try to nickel and dime innings any way you can. Here's the pitch. Hit well down the right field line, but it's going to hook well foul. And it's no ball. It remains no balls and 2 strikes to Brock Schaefer. Coming up about 40 minutes after the completion of this game, the winner's bracket final, Cali and Johnson County. There's a roller along first foul.
Got to watch Coach Cervantes here. He's getting into position.
One-handed, fielded cleanly, and then a terrible throw to the dugout.
Fielded cleanly, but come on, Carp. The ball had almost rolled to a complete stop.
Well, for Mel.
Your granddaughter Hope could have fielded that cleanly.
Trying to give Mel a little love. I should have known better.
Try harder, because it's not coming.
Remains 0-2 to Brock Schaefer. Here's the pitch. Hit high down the right field line. This should reach the seats. It doesn't, though, and it's dropped. And that's going to be another error. That should have been caught. So Schaefer stays alive. That's the 3rd dropped foul ball in this tournament overall. So now 4 errors by the Greyhounds. They only got 3. The scorers weren't, or the scoreboard wasn't looking, but it's 4 errors. And Schaefer stays alive at 0-2. Agri's pitch pulled foul again. Well, we saw Danny Cruz do this to Wyatt Davis, and that's 4 straight 2-strike foul balls for Brock Schaefer. Once again, the 0-2. Foul back again. That's 5 in a row.
Have you seen an approach at the plate any more aggressive than the one Brock's taken this at bat?
That's his mentality. He is very aggressive at the plate, and I just love that mentality. That's going to help him down the road. Once again, the 0-2. Hit well to right field and deep. But it's McKay Williams hasn't measured. It died as it reached him, and the inning is over. That thing left the ball back well.
That wind blowing across from right to left really put the brakes on that one.
Dragons get an insurance run, though. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error, and 1 left. We are reached the 7th inning stretch. It is 8-2 Blue Dragons. Sean Moore leads off the bottom of the 7th for Fort Scott. Hutchinson with an 8-2 lead. They got a insurance run in the top of the 7th inning on a Scott Wolverton triple that scored Wyatt Divis after he doubled, coming with 2 outs. And Sean Moore fouls one off. Wyatt Divis back out at pitch number 98. The numbers for Wyatt through 6. 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. Pitch taken low for a ball, and it's 1-1. Want to give a shout out to Dave Urban, father of former Blue Dragon closer Andy Urban. Pitch popped up, shallow center. Hackle coming on. Hellman going out, and Michael Hellman makes the catch for out number 1. You don't know how big that out is. Getting that first out. Late in the innings, you're trying to milk through a game. And for a pitcher, getting that first out is just absolutely huge. Because now you get it right back to the windup and go back to work. Here's Andrew McKenzie. He's 1 for 1 with the walk, been on base twice. The designated hitter, he takes outside ball 1. Pitch count now 1-0-1. During the 2010 Region 6 at the Dragons, when that pitch is a strike, Dave was sitting in Las Vegas listening, and he kept checking in while Andy and the Blue Dragons were here winning it all. Fly ball to left field. Morganson going back, and Bobby chases it down just before the track for the second out. Nice running catch from Morganson. 2 away here in the 7th. Now McKay Williams, the right fielder. He's 0 for 2. Andy, one of the top closers in Blue Dragon history. His freshman year and turned out to be a starter his sophomore year by necessity. Fly ball center field. Hackle going back, slowing down. He's got it.
Boy,
the inning is over.
What a big inning for Wyatt. What, 5 pitches, 6
Yes.
pitches?
6 pitches.
Happiest man in the dugout is Coach Ryan Schmidt right now.
You better believe it. We're through 7 in Wichita. Dragons 8, Greyhounds 2. Top of the 8th here in Wichita. Steve Carpenter, Denny Steckline back with you on the Blue Dragon Sports Network. Dragons trying to stay alive. They lead Fort Scott 8-2 as we enter the Dragon half of the 8th. Fort Scott will have the last at bat. Top of the order in Shane Cooper. It's Cooper, Hellman, and Morganson due up against Keller Egri, who entered the game in the 7th inning and allowed a 2-out RBI triple to Scott Wolverton. Pitch bounces in. Catcher Brendan Cranrich down in the old Tony Pena stance. This time he's not. Here's the 1-0 to Coop. Fastball in the outside corner for a strike.
Boy, and how many times did we see Tony Pena make a throw to second from that stance and throw out a runner?
He was amazing. 1-1 to Coop. High chopper left side into left field for the Dragons' 13th hit of the game.
Some of these base hits, you feel like you're watching the Kansas City Royals of the 70s and 80s with chopping it into the turf, and Willie Wilson and Freddie Patek and Frank White beating those balls out.
Here's Michael Hellman. Michael 1 for 4. Coop safely to first. The pitch to Hellman's a strike.
Michael still looking for a career hit 200.
It would be the first not only in Blue Dragon history, but in Jayhawk Conference history. And this is a history steeped in tradition. The pitch, over but low for a ball, 1-1. Temperatures climb to 84 here at Lawrence-Dumont. There's a high fly ball down the left field line, but it's going to be well foul. And off the Wichita Wingnuts clubhouse roof.
Carp, I know you've got every statistic known to man at your fingertips, but you can't cheat. Michael's had over 220 plate appearances this season. How many times has he struck out?
The line in the pitch, high chopper, diving or a jumping attempt by the third baseman. The throw pulls him off. What do you think?
Looked like an error to me.
There'll be a throwing error on the third baseman, Sean Moore.
I'm going to go back and watch the replay of this one and see if Michael would have beaten it, but my first instinct was he would not have.
So it's 2 on, nobody out for Bobby Morganson. I hate to do that to Michael, too. But
if that holds, that'll be the 5th error, and that's what the scoreboard shows as well. They show 4 now. They didn't have the one.
High fly ball to left field. Drifting back is Morrow. He makes the catch on the track for the first out. Tagging is Cooper. Staying at first is Hellman. Good heads-up running by Cooper. So Morganson flies out for out number 1. And now it's runners at the corner for Nolan Hackle. Nolan has 1 hit in 4 trips. He scored a run, driven in 1. Now in the postseason, Hackle 6 for 21. Second on the team in the postseason with 6 RBIs. Infield back for the Greyhounds with the runner at third and less than 2 out. Fly ball, foul off to the left. Scoreboard didn't put up that 1 error on the drop foul ball by the first baseman. The pitch. That's a foul ball just outside of first. That could have bounced around and been interesting had it stayed fair. Nothing in 2 to Hackle. Cooper at third, Hellman at first. Here's the pitch. Ground ball up the middle, knocked down by the pitcher. And everybody's going to be safe. And a run scores to make it 9-2. Hackle with 2 RBIs. And we'll see if the pitcher, Keller Eggery, is okay. We've seen one other pitcher smoke today. John Hill's going to go out and take a look at his pitcher. So it's now 9-2 Hutch. So now, again, if you remember, if you're just joining us, run rules are different. We're going to get a new pitcher. We'll keep it right here. Run rules in the Region 6 tournament match that of Grand Junction, 10 after 5, 8 after 7. In Grand Junction, they're put in there specifically to keep the tournament moving. And the new pitcher will be Avery Bame. And considering this might be an injury, he may get all the pitches he wants to warm up. But he's been warming up 2 or 3 times in the pen, so you should be almost good and loose. Anyway, my point is the Dragons have a 7-run lead here in the top of the 7th. Or top of the 8th, excuse me. Need to try to get one more run, get it to the run rule level, and then get out of it and save an inning. And you believe me, you're having to win 5 in a row. That inning could be big down the stretch, saving it in this first game of this elimination run that the Dragons are going to have to make. So right now, Ryan Schmidt working all the numbers. The numbers on Boehm. Let me flip pages here. Avery Boehm on for the 15th time. He is 1-0 with a 7.52 ERA. Boehm has tossed 20 in the third innings. He's allowed 26 hits, 20 runs. 17 of those earned. He has struck out 16 and walked 16, allowed 2 home runs, making his first appearance of Wichita.
So with one away, it's a good opportunity for the Blue Dragons to put at least one more on the board. It'd be nice to get a couple, if not more, to give yourself that cushion as we head to the bottom of the 8th and try to get this one wrapped up in short order.
Once Boehm is done, and he appears to be warmed up, be 1 out. Michael Hellman at second, Nolan Hackle at first. Were you able to look at anything on that video?
Yeah, I think a good throw would have gotten Michael. But I'll trust your eye to look at it later as well. It was a little closer at first than what I would have thought.
And the fact that he had to jump up, that takes it out of the normal category. So we're going to debate that one a little bit. But we'll do that a little bit later. Right now, Brady Hoover steps in.
But I guarantee you, knowing Michael the way I do, that's not how he wants to get his 200th career hit.
Here's the pitch, swung on and missed. Brady Hoover so far 1 for 3. First at bat was an RBI double and a run scored. He sent struck out, grounded out twice. That is a line drive. Diving catch by the second baseman, Will Baker. What a play. Head
Great
first
play by
dive.
Baker.
And he was also in a semi-drawn-in infield, so that made the play even tougher.
Heads-up base running by Hellman and Hackle, not to have wandered too far away either. Hellman had to dive back into second, but Baker not with the opportunity to double him up.
So 2 out, 2 on for Caden Doge. 3 hits on the afternoon. He takes upstairs, ball 1.
Everybody's still seated in the Blue Dragon bullpen, so I think that tells us who's coming back out for the bottom of the 8th.
Well, if they can get one more inning out of Davis, it'd be huge. Slider outside, 2-0 to Doge.
I'd take one more run and then one more inning.
Indeed. Four o'clock game's going to get started late now. The pitch, big cut by Caden. He misses and it's 2-1. I know Caden's mom, Shelly, listening in down in Louisiana. So hi down there to the Bayou State. The pitch, high and tight, 3-1. Last year we got to meet Caden's grandpa. What a wonderful gentleman he is.
Wasn't that great? I remember him coming up to the press box at Hobart Detter and looking for that guy that he hears on the live stream all the time.
Here's the 3-1 to Caden. That's a well-hit ball to left field. That's down for a hit. They are waving Hellman, and he will score, and that's a 4-hit game for Caden Doge, his second of the year. And it's now 10-2, so they got the big 2-out single, and the Dragons continue to impressively hit with 2 out in the postseason. That's 23 2-out runs.
That was hit hard enough that I really wondered, even with Michael's speed, if Coach Schmidt was going to be able to send him. But playing on this turf, it took a pretty big hop, and the left fielder had to wait on it, and that gave Michael enough time. Be great to see Wyatt help his own cause right here.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Davis, 3 out of 4, 2 singles and a double, and he takes a big cut there. And it's strike 1. Dragons now with 15 hits. That's a high for the tournament here in Wichita. They had 17 hits against Labette in game number 1 of that series last week at Hobart Detter Field. The pitch, high and outside, a ball on the strike. "10-2 Dragons, top of the 8th. Here's the 1-1. In the dirt. Good snag by Krenrich.
Good speed on the bases for the Dragons. Hackle at second. Dogay at first. Divis can put another in the gap, and left center would be great. They're giving him a ton of space down the right field line.
The pitch. Up high, 3-1.
You'd have to think anything in a gap or down the line is going to score 2.
Divis continues to be one of the hottest hitters of all the Blue Dragons. Even hotter than Michael Hellman. Time called as a gust of wind kicked up. Mind you, on March 18th, Wyatt Divis was hitting .215. And now average now probably over 400 again. Second on the team in hitting. Here's the pitch. Lifted down the left field line, hooking foul. Full count now. So that will be an added benefit to the Dragon base runners. Nolan Hackle at second, Caden Dogay at first. They're going to move on the pitch. Anything in the gap should score both of them. Bame comes set out of the stretch. The runners go, and it's fouled back, and we'll reset and do it again. Hackle especially is a huge insurance run. The Dragons right now have it at run rule status, 8 after 7 here in the postseason.
But no margin for error at this point.
Runners go again, and it hit him. The bases are loaded. That pitch from Bame just bore right in on Wyatt Divis. And he takes one the Blue Dragon way to load the bases for catcher Scott Wolverton.
Second Blue Dragon to reach the Blue Dragon way this game. Wolverton doing so. No, it wasn't Wolverton.
Brock Schaefer.
Brock Schaefer, of course.
Wolverton, for his credit, 2 for 3, a 2-run double and an RBI triple. So a chance to really help the Dragon cause and give, quite likely, Wyatt Divis a little bit of cushion for the bottom of the 8th inning. And we hate to beat that horse to death, but it's imperative if the Dragons eventually expect to get to Grand Junction. There's a little pop-up to second. Will Baker shading his eyes, and he dropped it. He lost it in the sun again, 2-run score. That'll be, unfortunately, an error on Baker. No RBIs, but 2 huge runs. As Fort Scott commits its 6th error of the game. It is now 12-2. And Brock Schaefer to hit. And nobody can feel any worse than Will Baker. That was an easy pop-up, and he lost it in the sun. Divis goes first to third. Hackle and Dogay both score.
Dragons have batted around now for the second time to game. Schaefer, the 9th hitter for the inning. Scotty, when he popped that one up, flips his bat down in disgust and turned out as well as it could. Look at that. Brock Schaefer goes up there hacking.
Imagine that. Love that mentality. Fouls off the first pitch. Now 12-2 Hutch. Here's the pitch. Big cut and a miss on the pitch, low and in. And Schaefer will hit out of an 0-2 hole. Remember, it was his last at bat. He was down 0-2 and fouled off several 2-strike pitches.
I think the pitcher just got tired of him fouling him off because that wasn't the at-bat he hit him, though, was it?
No.
That was the one prior to that.
Flying out to right. The pitch reaches out and fouls this one off. Just love that battling mentality of Brock Schaefer.
You know, it's something you try to teach kids from a young age is when you're a hitter and you've got 2 strikes on you, the 17-inch plate has to get wider. You cannot, you've got to take it out of the umpire's hands, the opportunity to ring you up. And
pitch, that hit him. Schaefer hit for the second time, and the bases are loaded once again.
So we have a Blue Dragon Way trifecta.
Twice for Brock. And now it's back to the top of the order in Shane Cooper, who started this whole thing off with a single. Cooper singled. Hellman reached on a throwing error, and again, that's iffy as John Hill comes out of the pen. There's no action in the Fort Scott bullpen, but the call has been made, and we will get another pitching change. We'll tell you about the new Fort Scott pitcher right after this. Kyle Schmidt will make his third straight appearance for Fort Scott here in this tournament. Schmidt is 6 foot, 175-pound freshman from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Schmidt's on for the 33rd time this year.
And hello to Cajun country. Let the good times roll right back at you.
Schmidt 4-3 with 15 saves. 4.09 ERA. He's got the bases loaded, 2 out against Shane Cooper and misses outside ball 1.
Schmidt's no relation to Blue Dragon head coach Ryan Schmidt.
Different spelling. 50 2/3 innings, 54 hits, 34 runs, 23 earned, 51 strikeouts, 13 walks. He has given up 6 home runs. 1-0 to Coop. That's grounded, fielded by the shortstop Cruz. He takes it to the bag himself to end the inning. But the Dragons get some huge insurance runs and now are potentially 1 inning away from advancing. In the 8th, 4 runs, 3 hits, 2 errors, and 3 left on. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Our new score, Hutchinson 12 and Fort Scott 2. So Wyatt Davis is going to try to close it out in 8 innings. 12-2 Blue Dragons, bottom of the 8th. Fort Scott does have the last at bat. They need to score 3 to stay alive. Again, the run rules differently in the postseason. We're going to get a pinch hitter. Mitch McAllister will pinch hit for Mitch Sloan. So we're going to see some pinch hitters here for John Hill. And in fact, tournament director Mike Sadler came in to tell me of a uniform change that we weren't made aware of. So thank you for John Hill for telling me that. McAllister swings and misses at the first Davis offering, his 105th pitch. That pitch taken low, and it's 1-1.
It's like we'll have another pinch hitter on deck with Harrison Whitworth getting some swings in for the Greyhounds.
Pitch taken downstairs. Actually, that is...
Oh, is that the change you were just talking about?
That's going to be the change. That's going to be Carter Young. Here's the 2-1 from Div. Low 3-1. Now what Ryan Schmidt's got to be careful of, if Divis struggles, get him out quickly.
Well, and on that note, Jaden Simmons has just jumped back up and is going to start getting loosened up.
The pitch. Hard hit ground ball in the left field. That's the 8th hit of the game for the Greyhounds. And it'll bring up another pinch hitter.
Swervin Will Irvin is also going to make his way down to the bullpen.
Okay, so Harrison Whitworth will hit here for Will Baker. Dragons about hit. Fort Scott now 15-8. Low from Divis for ball one on pitch number 110. In essence, for the Dragons, whoever comes in, if they come in, it won't go down, but in essence, a save situation. The pitch is low, and the snap throw to first not in time, and it's 2-0. 111 pitches for Wyatt Davis, by far a career high. His previous career high was 97 in that game against Garden City. High fly ball hit deep to left field. Morgansen's watching it go. And the cushion the Dragons had is now down to nothing. 2-run home run, a pinch hit home run for Whitworth. And it is now 12-4. So the first two have reached. And the pinch hitters for John Hill doing their job. We'll see what Ryan Schmidt's going to do. Again, this will be Carter Young stepping in. And here comes Ryan Schmidt.
Well, Jaden Simmons is taking a seat in the bullpen, and Will Irvin is going to get loose. And Coach Schmidt has not made a sign yet. You have to wonder a little bit here, Carp. Jaden's, he's a hard thrower. Wyatt doesn't look to be a hard thrower, but he's a lot harder thrower than what you think he is. Will has more of the sidearm, off-speed approach, and I think Schmidt might be thinking if he comes with Simmons, he's going to be showing them something they've been looking at the whole game. And so if we make the change, which he's going to do, big round of applause from the Blue Dragon fans. The players are meeting him outside the dugout. Outstanding outing for the Marshal.
Will Irvis will make his second appearance of the tournament, and we'll tell you about his numbers after this break. Out of Junction City, Kansas, Will Irvin comes in. He comes in with a 12-4 lead, an 8-run lead, but if the Dragons want to end it here in the 8th, he has no cushion to work with. Irvin took the loss yesterday in the 14-8 loss to Johnson County. The numbers for Will Irvin, on for the 11th time, 10th in relief. 2-1 overall record with a 9.69 earned run average. Irvin's worked 13 innings. He's allowed 18 hits, 15 runs, 14 earned. He has struck out 7 and walked 10. Opponents hitting .333 against. Irvin yesterday, we'll find those numbers, didn't record an out. Faced 3 batters. Allowed 2 hits faced 4 batters. Or 2 batters, allowed a hit and a run and took the loss. So I think we're going to get another pinch hitter. I'm sorry.
It's Carter Young
still. It was Carter Young, that's right. So 3rd straight pinch hitter of the inning.
Yeah, Coach Schmidt waited for Young to be announced before he made his way to the mound.
Carter Young making his 14th at bat of the year. He's 4 for 13. A double, a home run, and 5 RBIs, and it's ball 1 from Irvin. That hit him. And this is exactly what the Blue Dragons did not need. Still comfortably in front. We'll have that great outing against Pratt.
Got another pinch hitter coming up here for the Greyhounds, Carp. Number 4.
Ben Kiefer.
Ben Kiefer.
Last couple times since that outing, Will has struggled. The slow roller along third, fielded by Doggett, but they call it foul off the foot of Kiefer.
Looking at that armor he's got on his left foot, that's not the first time he's done that.
Ben Kiefer hitting .333 for the year, 18 for 54, 2 doubles, a triple, and 8 RBIs. The pitch. Lifted to right field, pretty well hit, but playable for Schaefer to his right. He's got it for out number 1. The Dragons hold on and eventually do go through this and at least get it to the championship game, if not the if game on Tuesday. There's going to be a pitcher that is going to surprise us all with a huge outing.
Going back to what we talked about in the pregame, the Lucas Milner of the 2017 Blue Dragons. Lucas with a great outing for him last year, and that's exactly what you're referring to here. Somebody's going to have to step up and be that guy.
In 2005, it was Sean Peary, 7 2/3 in the championship game. The second championship game, that pitch was fouled by Morrow, and it's 1-1. We talked about the heroic efforts of Sean Lewick in 2010. He was the staff ace. The pitch. Well hit ball toward the gap in left center field. It's down. It's going to one-hop the wall. Young will stop at third, and it's a one-out double for Morrow.
Well, now that critical run is sitting at third that would extend this game into the 9th inning.
And ultimately leave the Dragons then with 5 outs to complete instead of 2. Morrow now 3 for 4. He's 3/4 away to the cycle. He's got the home run, the double, and the single.
Got the hardest one to get then, doesn't he?
And we don't need to see him have an opportunity. Here's Quinn Waterbury, the first baseman. He's 0 for 3. Dragons will play the corners in, the middle back.
This is where a coach tells his catcher to be a wall, and you can imagine that Scotty Wolverton's heard that a time or two from the dugout.
That one's fouled back by Waterbury, and it's 1-1. So much for getting home in a decent hour tonight. And I'm driving back. We have a national track meeting in the morning before I have to drive back down here. The pitch. 0 in, 2-1.
10 after 4, and this is the 1 o'clock game that started at 1:30. And obviously, by the time this one ends, the 4 o'clock game is probably 45 minutes away from starting. So,
the pitch. Checked his swing and it's 3-1.
But Carp, I'll gladly stay around as late as I can at the ballpark, as late as I have to at the ballpark tonight to see Blue Dragon baseball being played.
You better believe it.
This reminds me of a couple of Hutchinson Monarch games at last summer's NBC World Series where the first pitch wasn't thrown until after 11 p.m.
Monarchs have had several of those over the years here at the NBC. They always get stuck playing the late games of baseball around the clock. Here's a 3-1 from Irvin. Swung on and missed, and it's a full count now to Waterbury.
The tough part of those games was they were like on a Sunday night, Monday night, where us working stiffs had to be at the office at 8 o'clock the next morning.
Now the 3-2. It's back to the screen. They might have a chance. Wolverton underhand flips. The runner's safe, and the game's going to be extended. Ball 4 to Waterbury. And a wild pitch allows Young to score. And so much for the run rule. We can stop talking about that because that no longer is an issue. This game's going 9 no matter what, and Ryan Schmidt, I believe, is going to call on Jaden Simmons, and there's the call. So Will Irvin continues to battle back from his arm troubles of last year, and I said this earlier that we will see his best pitching after his time in Hutchinson is done. He's disappointed in the effort. Jaden Simmons coming in, and we'll tell you about his numbers after this break. Sophomore righty Jaden Simmons now in charge of quashing this Fort Scott rally. The big sophomore from Denver. 5-0 record, on for the 19th time. He's had 3 saves, but a 4.01 ERA. That has been elevated by a couple of rough outings his last 3 times out. 33 2/3 innings pitched for Simmons, 34 hits, 17 runs, 15 earned. He has struck out 28, but walked 15. And the command of his slider has kind of been his bugaboo as of late. Third baseman Sean Moore steps in. Runners at the corners, 1 away. 3 already across in the inning. This game is no longer a run rule issue, so they're playing 9. Now the Dragons just trying to get through to the next game. Simmons misses high, ball 1. Ryan Schmidt knew the bullpen was going to be the iffy part of the proposition come postseason time. There's a fly ball to center field and hit well. Hackle going back, and it's over his head and bounces over the wall for a ground rule double. That will plate only 1, but now it's 12-6. And folks, this is a ball game again.
And that being a ground rule double saved a run because the runner from first would have scored easily with that one being hit deep to the gap in right center. Instead, he's got to put the brakes on at third.
So second and third, 1 out for McKenzie, the designated hitter. Andrew McKenzie 1 for 2 with a walk. There's a strike. Infield playing back for the Dragons. They'll give up the run for the out. Dayton Lane throwing in the Dragon pen back of Simmons. Fort Scott up now to 11 hits. Here's the pitch. High chopper to the right side. Hellman fields. This will score the run, but Hellman makes the throw to first in time for out number 2. Waterbury scores to make it 12-7. Moore stayed at second. So it's a 5-run inning for the Greyhounds. Now McKay Williams, the 9th batter of the inning. He's 0 for 3. Simmons' pitch. That slider misses inside. McKay checks it. McKay Williams checks his swing for ball 1. Dragon fans thought he went around.
I wasn't watching, Carp. Did they appeal that and ask? Because there was quite a bit of movement to that bat.
Grounded up the middle. Cooper can't get it. It's into center field for a hit. Here comes another run, and it's 12-8. So McKay Williams gets his first hit of the game. And now the Blue Dragons have to think about tacking on more insurance in the 9th. Mitch McAllister, he was a pinch hitter. He started this with a single. 10th batter of the inning. Here's the pitch. Way outside, ball 1. It's a good changeup from Simmons, and it swung through a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike to the count. Kind of hard to tell where the Dragon pen has started to falter. The starting pitching has been awfully good all year, and they've gone deep in the games. Slider for a strike, and it's 1-2. There haven't been that many innings out there for the bullpen to throw. You can break it down 1,000 different ways. Runner goes. Pitch is high, the throw down. Got a huge jump, and then the ball hit him right in the back, and McKay Williams is a bit shaken up. Throw from Scott Wolverton was low, and then on the slide caught Williams square in the back.
If it hadn't been for the base runner, the throw would have been right on the bag.
Yes. Wolverton continues to improve his throwing. And another runner in scoring position. Now here's the pitch from Simmons. That bounces in and gets away. That's a slider. Again, we talked about that slider. He's basically lost command of it. And moving into third on the wild pitch is McKay Williams. For Jaden Simmons, that is wild pitch number 9. That's second on the team. The Dragons now have uncorked 80 wild pitches as a group. High chopper to third. Fielded by Doge. Strong throw in time, and the inning is over. But Fort Scott comes up with 6 runs on 5 hits. They leave 1. We've completed 8 here at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Our new scorer, Hutchinson 12 and Fort Scott 8.
Question it.
There are 100 different changes for Fort Scott. One I can't figure out. You've got the pitcher still in the game, and he's already in. You can't put him in the lineup to bat after he's already been in the game, but their DH is playing it. There's a ton of changes here. We're going to try to get the defensive changes here before too long. Quinn Waterbury stays at first base. Who's
I think we have number.
Who's in center? Let's start there.
Yeah, let's see if we can grab these binoculars that Josh Gooch brought for us and see if I can be steady enough to tell. Numbers on the front are too small for me to get a read on it. Plus, he's holding his glove right in front of where the number would be. Could be a 3, Carp. I'm not certain.
Okay, Ryan Schmidt, there's just numerous changes. We're going to try to get them all because, again, I'm the official scorer as well, so we're trying to figure things out, and this is slowing the process down even more. Michael Hellman, when we get back to action, is going to lead up. Denny, I'm going to jump across and get my big binoculars, so I'll be right back.
Sounds great, Carp. I'll cover it for you. Home plate umpire's done giving the updates to Ryan Schmidt, who apparently is pleased with the explanation of everything, and that's going to put Michael Hellman in the box to lead off the Blue Dragon ninth. Blue Dragons had a chance to close this out in the 8th. Couldn't do so, allowed 6 runs to take the run rule off, and there's a bunt by Hellman down the third base line, and he beats it out, and that is going to be career hit number 200. On a bunt single from Michael Hellman to lead off the Blue Dragon ninth. The first player in Blue Dragon baseball history and the first player in Jayhawk Conference history to reach the 200 hit threshold. Brings Bobby Morganson to the plate. Bobby flew out to left his last at bat. 1 for 4 with the single and the walk. Takes that first pitch for a ball. Dragons holding a 4-run lead here in the 9th. There goes Hellman. Easily steals second base. Michael's 30th stolen base of the season. Been caught only 4 times. 2-0 count now to Bobby. Bobby lifts this one high and deep to center. Center fielder goes back. He's turning. He can't get it. He falls down. The ball's off the wall, and it's going to roll a good distance all the way back towards the infield. The right fielder comes in to get it. Hellman scores, and Bobby standing on third. Bobby got that one up into the jet stream, and with that wind blowing across from right to left, he was doing a couple of pirouettes out there. I wouldn't want to be trying to make that catch, and just in front of the 400-foot sign. So a triple for Morganson. Puts the Dragons up 5. It's going to bring Nolan Hackle to the plate. Nolan's got a pair of singles on the day, reached on an error. He's going to chop this one to short. And he's going to get thrown out, but Morganson's going to score to give the Dragons a 6-run lead. Nolan darn near beat that one out. The Dragons had a 10-run lead as we went to the bottom of the 8th. They needed to hold at least an 8-run lead to end this one early. Bullpen failed to do that. They've gotten 2 of those back here in the bottom or the top of the 9th to go up 14-8. Brady Hoover at the plate. The Mays High School product, redshirt sophomore from here in Wichita. Hoove doubled in his first at bat. Hit a screaming liner that the second baseman made a great diving catch of in the 8th when the Dragons sent 10 to the plate and scored 4. Gorgeous day, great crowd. Strike called on the inside part of the plate. Brady's down on the count 1-2. Caden Doge on deck. Down low is going to even the count at 2-2. 1 out here in the top of the ninth. And Brady's going to go down swinging for the second out of the inning. Caden Doge is 4 for 5, 3 singles, a double. Dayton Lane continues to toss in the Blue Dragon bullpen. Swing and a miss by Caden. I suspect that the bottom of the ninth is going to be on the backs of Jaden Simmons and Dayton Lane. It's just a matter of Jaden effectively taking care of the Fort Scott batters. They're going to have the 2, 3, and 4 hitters coming up. All 3 of those were pinch hitters in the 8th. So it'll just be the second at bat for each of those batters, and they did not face Simmons their first time up. Upstairs, 1-2 now the count to Caden. And a swing and a miss is going to end the Blue Dragon ninth. Dragons get a pair back. They lead Fort Scott 14-8 as we head to the bottom of the ninth inning. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Back at Lawrence-Dumont Stadium, go to the bottom of the ninth, 14-8 Hutch. 2 runs in the top of the ninth, and we have no idea if I've got this lineup for Fort Scott right or not. This is a mess. We're going to get another pinch hitter to start. It'll be Justin O'Laughlin. So Dayton Lane in to try to close this thing out. Not a save opportunity, but it'll feel like one. This has been one of the more maddening games we have faced.
Well, Carp, I'm going to count on your statistics because the sheet I'm looking at, I don't show anything for this young man.
This appears to be his, in the way they're reacting, I think this is his. O'Loughlin's a pitcher. And the stats off the conference site show him this is his first at bat. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Dayton Lane, 3-1 record, team high 7 saves and a 3.21 earned run average.
O'Loughlin's a 6'4", 228-pound sophomore.
Fast pitch in the dirt, a slider, and it's 1-2. Lane, 28 innings pitched, 26 hits, 13 runs, 10 earned, 33 strikeouts, 15 walks, and an opponent average of 241. So now you might kind of see the scenarios that are going to play. There's a swing and a miss for out number 1 for Ryan Schmidt, and how he's going to handle the bullpen. It's going to be by committee. Nobody's going to probably run long now. We'll get another pinch hitter, and Ben McConnell out of Corinth, Texas. This could be a record number of pinch hitters I've ever faced. Actually, had McConnell lead us, but he played. He was in the game already. That pitch fouled off.
He was a center fielder, wasn't he, Carp?
Center fielder, so we have to go make that change. I may not enter this game until I get.
You feel for McConnell a little bit, go into center field your first time.
Ground ball up the middle and through for a base hit.
And Morganson hits that moonshot up into this wind. And so McConnell with a pinch, or I guess it wouldn't be a pinch hit, it'd be a single.
Right. And now Ben Kiefer, the catcher. That one I got right.
Looking back to the 8th, when they pinch hit 4 guys in a row, they went single, home run, hit by pitch, fly out.
Kiefer went around on that pitch, couldn't check his swing, and it's 0-1.
And even though McConnell wasn't a pinch hitter, it was his first plate appearance, and he singles. So pretty productive at bats for these guys who are.
Ground ball fair inside the bag at third and down in the corner. Morganson will come into second.
Nice job by Bobby to hold that to a single.
Runner goes first to third, McConnell. And now Andrew Morrow. Morrow today is 2 for 4. He homered in the 4th, doubled his last time up. Right now, I'd just love to see a ground ball right at Shane Cooper. The pitch. Big hack and a foul off the mask of Scott Wolverton.
Scotty's going to take a little bit of a walk, and the home plate umpire is going to walk this one out to Dayton Lane, give Scotty a chance to compose himself. We talked about it last night. That's part of the neat relationship you see between a catcher and a home plate umpire, that they look out for each other in these situations, and we saw it happen both ways last night in the same innings. So giving them a chance to compose themselves.
Now we're ready to go. 0-1 the count. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2 to Morrow. He's trying to go for a second home run.
Dayton's a freshman, but I love the way he conducts himself on the mound. He's very businesslike, pitches with some attitude.
The pitch in the dirt. That kicks away from Wolverton. Another run's going to score. Another wild pitch. McConnell scores to make it 14-9. One and two the count to the batter Morrow. Dragons looking for, it's not going to be a 7 p.m. date with Neosho County. Hard hit ball, line shot to Cooper for out number 2. A little soft liner. There's 2 away now for Quinn Waterbury. Waterbury walked and scored in that big 6-run 8th for Fort Scott. He's 0 for 3. So Fort Scott down to its last out, and that tying run still sitting in the dugout. The pitch. Outside ball 1.
You know, pitchers and coaches both would have liked a little bit of a wider zone, but you got to give the home plate umpire credit that it was consistent throughout the day, and that's really all you can ask for.
Hasn't been too much balk, close pitch here and there. You're always going to get that. That pitch outside, and it's 2-0.
Normally when there's close ones that aren't getting the calls, there's 2 people you can pick out in the crowd. One would be the coach's wife. The other would be the pitcher's mom.
Swing and a miss, 2-1.
And I'll throw pitcher's dad in there at times too. They see things differently at times than the rest of us.
Oh, yes.
And that's all right, because we've all been there.
That's right. 2-1 the count now to Waterbury. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss, 2-2.
Fort Scott's down to their last strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Runner on second.
The box score for this game, folks, isn't going to be posted for a while until I get the correct changes from Fort Scott in this wild last couple innings. 2-2. Just a bit outside, full count. This game has surpassed the 3-hour mark, now 3 hours and 4 minutes. And it's a 9-inning game. You would think the Red Sox were on ESPN. Here's the pitch. Foul back. Sure, that's got the sound room jumping again after yesterday. Nathan Leiter, cameraman, getting a little flinchy over to our left. He's used to working with the net.
But we appreciate his willingness to take one for the team because the video quality is so much higher without the net.
Indeed it is. That pitch foul off, and we'll do it again at 3-2, 2 out. Coming up after this one, Cowley and Johnson County in the winner's bracket final. The winner will be the undefeated team in the championship game tomorrow night at 7. 3-2 pitch. Wow. Wonder if Tim Carpenter's wondering if he's getting paid by the pitch, because he could retire on the pitches thrown in this one. 2 on, 2 out for shortstop Sean Moore. And now Ryan Schmidt's going to trot out and make sure everybody in the Blue Dragon uniform gets on the same page.
I think this one's a pep talk here to we mentioned Dayton's a freshman, but by the time you get to game 59 of the season, You're no longer a freshman.
Right.
And coaches' expectations of those young men is as if they're a seasoned veteran, which really they are at this point.
One of the things the Dragons really weren't able to do this year, when we talked about the lack of innings for the bullpen, that's because of the good starting pitching, really haven't been able to create a lot of depth. There's some good arms in that bullpen that haven't seen a lot of work because they've been inconsistent, and all of them are being freshmen. They're swinging a chopper down the line by Moore, 0-1. And we're not diminishing anybody's efforts or anything, but that's just the way it is. It happens in college. You only get so many innings.
Yeah, but it's you see these kids who work their way up through a high school program, and it's a big step when you go from high school to any level of college baseball. But even junior college and the Jayhawk Conference, one of the premier conferences in the country, this is some of the highest quality baseball you're going to find.
The pitch. High fly ball to left. Morganson near the line. He's slowing down. He's got it, and the Blue Dragons win it. They stay alive. They get their first of what it needs to be 5 one-game winning streaks. Hutchinson wins it 14-9, and we will wrap it up right after this. Steve Carpenter, Denny Steckline back with you. We're going to get a quick wrap up and we get prepared for another game tonight, scheduled for 7 p.m. Probably not going to happen that way. Hutchinson wins at 14-9.
Can we exhale yet?
I don't feel like we can. I
Boy.
honestly don't.
You know, give credit to the Greyhounds. They could have easily mailed this one in earlier when they were down 7-1, but they came back. They scored 7 runs in the last 2 innings and put a lot of pressure on the Blue Dragons. The Blue Dragons are able to hold on, win this one 14-9. You know, great statistic you shared. I don't want to steal your thunder, but the 47th win of the season for the Blue Dragons has tied 2010?
2002.
2002. I knew you would know the 2002 team record for the most wins in a season. And I don't know about you. I think I know your answer to this. I would love nothing more than to witness them breaking that record later tonight. And I just hope it is later tonight and not Monday morning at some point, the way things are going. The 4 o'clock game, I'm guessing, is going to start about 5:30.
It'll be 40 minutes after the completion, so 5:20, 5:25, somewhere in there. So we'll keep you up to date on social media, especially on Twitter, which is where we're going to run a lot of that information through. Let's quickly get to the totals and wrap this one up as I got to get ready for the next game. Hutchinson, 14 runs, 17 hits, no errors, 10 left on base. Fort Scott, 9 runs, 14 hits, 6 errors, 7 left on base. The winning pitcher, Wyatt Divis, he improves to 6-2, and Nathan Miller takes the loss. He falls to 4-5. Time of ball game, 3 hours and 9 minutes. Real quickly, offensive. Let's get Wyatt Divis' line first. 7+ innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. Offensively for Hutchinson, they were led by Caden Doge's 4-hit game, 4 of 6, a double, 3 runs scored, and an RBI. Wyatt Divis 3 for 4, a double, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. Scott Wolverton 2 for 5, a double, a triple, 3 RBIs. And then 2 hits each for Michael Hellman, Bobby Morganson, and Nolan Hackle. Nolan Hackle also drove in 3 runs. And not to be lost in all this shuffle, Michael Hellman becomes the first player in JAOC Conference history to reach 200 career hits. So congratulations to him. Denny, we got about a 3-hour break. Let's do it all again about that time.
There's nothing better I'd love to do on a Sunday evening than sit and watch Blue Dragon baseball and see them start the next 1-game winning streak. They've got one. They need another one.
They get Neosho County next. We'll have a start time for you later. Again, keep track on Twitter. We'll keep you up to date. Until then, for Denny Steckline, Steve Carpenter saying so long from Lawrence-Dumont Stadium. Hutchinson 14, Fort Scott 9, Neosho County up next. Until then, so long, everybody.